Good morning. Good day. Good afternoon. It's 1 o'clock. Are you kidding me? I feel like I haven't had enough time to get through. Like the first week of the season, you realize how many fucking NFL games there are. Okay, that's first things first. That doesn't count. We got to set the parameters. We got to set the parameters here because welcome Beau Allen to the show.
Yeah.
One of the most prolific cussers of all time on the air, rivaled only by your boy. And me and Beau have got to do a good job this year. And it's not like we have to. I can say fuck, fuck, fuck as many times as I want. It's just, yeah, no. These don't count.
Fuck. All right,
No,
get
you
'em out.
gotta wait.
What do you mean?
Because the algorithm does something like the first
It's not even
3
about
to
the
5
numbers.
minutes.
It's not
bro.
it's not the numbers. I would like to challenge myself to cuss less. You know, I got a big vocabulary. Can I exchange some of these no-nos for words that are okay? And Beau, the same thing. So what are we going to set this thing? It's 5 cuss words a show. First to 5 loses. That person who loses has to sit and watch the other person close the show in whatever form or fashion they want. If Beau or I wins this competition on a weekly basis, we get the last word. It's like, what's that, Around the Horn?
Around the horn.
Yeah, we stole that from you guys.
Shout out to
I have a
Justin
question, Chris.
Tinsley.
Is it any cuss word or like what's safe?
I think you can say the S word. I think it's the F
just
word.
the F word.
It's the F word we're mostly worried about. There might be some kids that skip school to watch this today. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Some of you adults are like, if you just clean up the language, I'm like, we're all adults here, but we will try. Okay, so we got Dr. Fax, we got Beau Allen. For those of y'all that haven't listened to our other shows, Beau's on the show. Beau and I used to play together. Me and Nate used to play together. Beau and I played in Philadelphia. Nate Collins played in the NFL in Jacksonville and Chicago, and we were college teammates. So here we are. We're now a team. On Mondays, you got Nolan in the chair there. He's got the powerful computer and the all-22. We've got Cowboy Reed. We've got Tanner. We got Matt in the back. So you know a lot of these voices. Welcome to 2024. Welcome to the football season. It couldn't have gotten here soon enough. And again, there's a lot to get to, and I haven't been able to see everything. So hopefully we can fill in the blanks when the time comes. Guys, first things first. Saw 2 of the NFC's elites last night. Your takeaway on the Lions, guys, pretty damn good?
Yeah.
they look great.
I like it.
Yeah.
But I'm more impressed with the ending and how polarizing that ending was for them, and the overtime and deciding just to run and pound the ball, impose your will.
That's them.
At the end of a game. And
That's them.
And it's indicative of their coach.
Well, I mean, Beau, you watched that as a defensive lineman in OT. You know, it was like the minute they went to OT, you knew that like Goff might not throw another pass. And
I loved it. I loved it, Chris. I loved it. Ben Johnson, he's like, everyone's been gassing him in the offseason, and rightfully so. I feel like he came out with such a good plan. They did kind of like the end rounds of the outside runs and then just absolutely pounded the ball. And the Rams, like, they kind of have a young team, especially a young defense. Obviously, they're replacing Aaron Donald, but they looked like a little gassed. They looked a little, like surprised, shocked.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I
The Lions came out juiced. They were ready to go, dude.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where when you have a young group in the run fits, there's some instinctive things that show up where you're like, you know, you didn't play that block just right, and there was a crack of daylight because of it, and there were things that showed up late in the game, especially in the interior behind like Glasgow and Ragnow. Yeah. I mean, most importantly, that's the guy whose name kept coming up when we went to these camps. They ran the ball right behind him. You mentioned they come out and like what's so impressive about the Lions is, and we're gonna get to the Rams. They played their asses off in a really tough situation twice now on the road in Detroit. And Stafford, ironically, 0-2 in his old house. But it's like when you have a front like that's physical, they're well coached. Hank Fraley's turned into one of the best coaches in the National Football League at that position. Guy I used to play with. They also have the play design from Ben Johnson. Like they have like a dynamic coordinator, and they also have a group that's like elephants on parade. And so you open up overtime, and you go with that reverse off like a counter action. They fucking They filmed. I'm all rattled. I'm like Jalen Hurts the other night. I just threw the ball to Nixon. Okay, now I got to avoid taking a shot in the red zone.
You're more like Bryce Young coming out of the gate and making an early mistake.
I know. I can't wait to get to that game.
As long as you don't end it like Levis.
Yeah, you don't want to end it like Levis. You want to be like Caleb Williams. You know what I'm saying? 1-0.
Yep.
But no, I mean, like they just decided, hey, we're going to pound the rock. And having David Montgomery late in games, he must have broke 6 tackles on that run that put him in plus territory. And you know, he gets hit on the 5, the second to last play, and he ends up at the 1-yard line. And you just know it's over. It was like that wave of bodies getting carried to the 1-yard line was indicative of the whole theme of the game, because ultimately when it came down to it in quarter 5, the Rams didn't have enough juice. They didn't. And if Jared Goff hits that ball to the back out of the backfield on that last drive, we're not even in overtime. Mm-hmm. So people that had the Lions -5, you were praying for overtime. And they got there and they imposed their will. That's Lions football. And the defense. Holy shit. We can't get through this thing without talking about the defense. Aiden Hutchinson was fantastic. You give him a couple fish out there, his hustle, the moves in his bag. You saw spin moves. You could see the guy, you know, lined up inside, dominating. I thought Davenport immediately had returns on that investment, like you saw that. And then Anzalone right off the bat had that stadium jumping. The Carlton Davis edition, and just having Terry and Arnold, who probably wants some plays back. You know, there's some flags, but overall, you could tell right away when they were up 2 scores early in this game. I turned to Nolan and was like, "Holy shit, this defense is different." Yeah. I actually felt gratified having picked them to go all the way, because I'm like, the defense is showing up. Jared Goff's up and down in that game, but everything you wanted answered for that group, I felt like it got answered, even with the people that were down. And the Rams, we talked about it, limped into week 1, down a guard, 3 tackles, a corner, eventually Puka. You know, they battled. And Stafford. He's got to be the toughest QB in the NFL.
Brady. Yeah. Redonkulous, as Collinsworth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, he said throw of the year.
Yeah, week 1? Come on.
Little fucking 2.
Hold him up.
Yikes.
Little premature. It's just going to end up Beau's going to be closing every show. Okay.
Can't wait.
Little premature it was a little premature on calling it the throw of the year. It was an incredible throw. I'm not taking anything away from Matt Stafford, especially because he was getting rolled up on. His ankle looked like it was hurting. I mean, this guy, if this is the offensive line you're going to trot out all year, and you're not going to see rush groups like that all year because this is a plus rush group. They didn't even have DJ Reader. Right. I mean, wait till he gets back. But, you know, you talk about toughness. You talk about, like, circus throws. I don't even know if he was throwing the ball to the guy that caught it.
Right.
Like, I think he got torqued, as you would say, Beau, and the ball ended up hitting the other dude. He was trying to hit that crosser, and he got torqued around. And, I mean, he's just such a stud. And they got the quick game going. They had their moments. Cooper Kupp looks like Cooper Kupp again. And he might need to, because Nakua could be out for a while.
Right.
He was blocking his ass off all game.
I think starters and main characters on teams not playing in the preseason is kind of showing up more with all these injuries and guys getting dinked. And I noticed that a lot of the star players that didn't play in preseason, they were gassed.
Yeah.
And, like, you can kind of see that, and it's one of those things that teams have to work and find a way to get your guys into shape, into playing shape, because if not, you're going to see a lot of these guys getting dinked up, because that's a lot of it. You get hurt when you're really tired and you're out there and maybe you're not making the right functional movements while your brain is fatigued and your body is fatigued. So there's something to look at, and we've seen a lot of guys limping off the field, a lot of stops in games across the board, and that's one of the differences when you don't have a couple of games, because this is a lot of these starters' preseason game.
No question. No question. You, Beau, you remember how, like, when we were in preseason, and this shows up in timing for quarterbacks, like, look across the league. That's why when you see somebody, wait till we talk about Josh Allen or Kyler Murray in that game, like, the quarterback play was really high quality. I mean, for certain guys to come out and look as good as they did, for Caleb Williams, who's going to be, hopefully a stud in this league, I'm not going to pin that first week on him reputationally. I'm not going to say that's who he is, but timing could have something to do with that. Timing showed up in the Atlanta game, but also timing's not all of it. And just being gassed, like that first drive of preseason, or God forbid you don't play in the preseason and you go play in Tampa the opening week of the season, and it's 95 degrees and guys are gassed. I'm sure guys were tired down in Miami for that Jacksonville game. This was one of those things that the attrition caught up, and also the timing for Matt Stafford, especially with those guys out. He threw 2 balls on both ends of the half that kind of bookended halftime and were totally uncharacteristic of him, depending on what you think his reputation is.
Yeah, I think you saw there too that this was a different secondary than the one Stafford saw in the playoffs last year.
Totally.
You could feel it early in the game and kind of over the course of the game, with Carlton Davis making plays, one of Beau's old teammates there, and then also the addition of Terry and Arnold. He might have had some plays he wants back, but it is a much improved group in the secondary. And I think, to your point, Chris, I think it makes you feel better about them down the line,
their ceiling
going through the season, right?
The ceiling, the thing that kept their ceiling, high but not where it needed to be last year, was that secondary.
Right.
And they addressed it, and just being game one to look like this, and there's a few teams that address secondary. The Eagles are one of them. We'll talk about them in a little bit. You saw immediate returns. The Packers, McKinney, like these guys, guys with instincts don't need a lot of preseason on the back end, and I feel like that showed up in certain spots. I also want to shout out Jameson Williams, and for Detroit having him, and we talked about probably at some point they take a stab at somebody before the trade deadline outside at wide receiver in a perfect world, but Jameson Williams coming on makes things really exciting for them.
5 for 121 and a touchdown.
Yeah. And we got free football.
His post-game interview, did you see that? His energy was electric. Like, listening to him, like, after the game, it was just cool to see him, because it was so funny. Like, Goff was so poised, and then Jameson Williams was, like, so juiced up, like such an exciting young player. Yeah, just like a happy kid after the best performance of his career. That was kind of endearing. I do have one thing, Chris, I want to point out about the Rams I thought was really cool. It's just like, okay, obviously Stafford's fighting an uphill battle, right?
Yeah.
Injuries at O-line. They shuffled dudes across the board at halftime. Puka was out, banged up. But the thing that was still really impressive to me, and also very interesting, is just how the Rams were able to still run their offense with such issues at O-line. Like, they were still relatively committed to the run game.
Yeah.
And still were involving Cooper Kupp on the end arounds, and Stafford was still cleaning up a lot of these problems at the O-line.
Yeah.
With just like getting the ball out so fast. And that's one thing that I love about, that McVay offense is just, the ability for them to like kind of roll with the punches and still run all their shit with such a depleted offensive line was really impressive to me. And I also want to point out, like, one thing that surprised me about this game is just how physical it was. I was a little surprised about that. Like, the Lions are a physical football team, and they look good. I mean, you saw that in overtime, but like even the Rams, like even how banged up they were, like it was a physical game. And for an opener on Sunday night, like I kind of loved it.
I just want to say, and maybe what stuck in my brain from that playoff game was the physicality. And you think of them as like being explosive teams, and that's what's like kind of counterintuitive about this thing. But McVay's bread and butter has always come off of the run game. Now, last night they had to throw the ball a lot because of the way the game was dictated, but they're a physical group too. And that playoff game is one of the most physical games I can remember in the last calendar year, and these two teams didn't disappoint on Sunday Night Football, and we might see them play again. The Rams are out there in the West where, and we'll talk about some of these teams, we still haven't seen San Francisco play. We'll see them tonight. Seattle was sleepwalking, new coach in the first half, kind of started to pull away. Like, I do think the NFC West could prove to be the best division in football, and I think Cleveland's floor confirmed that for me this weekend. As at the work that Cincinnati has to do, we'll get there in a minute. Guys, I know there's a lot of Dallas fans in here. Where's my Dallas fans at in the chat? How we feeling today? How about them Cowboys? I'm going to give you all your flowers, I come into the season, and I'm staring at this win total at 10.5, and I'm like, I want the under, and it's kind of a half-baked narrative I formed in my own head until I looked at them very closely in August. And after placing that massive Eagles bet to win the East, I started sweating because I looked at the defense and I said, you know what, they're still going to be really good. And, the departures on offense, the thing I get obsessed about is, all right, the backfield looks pedestrian. I mean, like, you can't blame me with Zeke looking the way he's looked the past couple of years, and maybe yesterday him hurdling people out the gate was an aberration. But CeeDee Lamb shredding people in man coverage is not an aberration. Dak Prescott, who got his deal right before the game, and that was part of it to me, was like, hey, they're not paying Dak. What are they really about this year? They were either playing possum or they were holding the news for a little bit. They did lose some money kind of waiting these contracts out. But the start of this ball game, 3. It was
4.
3. Where's the 4?
Okay.
I got 3.
Yeah, you got 3. You just analyze. Matt'll count. Okay? But I'm watching the beginning of the game, and you got Zeke hurdling somebody. His first play. Like, you're just like, what? Is there special sauce that he likes in the Cowboys locker room that he gets? Because that looked like something that I haven't seen from him in a couple of seasons. Not only that, he looks cool in 15.
Back with his bestie.
Yeah, he's back with his bestie. But you've also got, Dak to Lamb over Ward, who's a tremendous cover guy, and Brady, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, is like, what a throw. That's his first, like, wow, from the booth, that was a dot. And it was. And standing there and hitting Cooks on the touchdown against blitz, Thornhill kind of got flat-footed and thought they were going to hit the hot. He was just shredding them across his body at Jalen Brooks. I mean, like, when they survived the strip sack to Garrett, when they survived the near pick in the middle of the field, you were kind of like, this is it. And maybe for Cleveland and their staff and everybody in that organization, they're not surprised by what they saw yesterday. But even for people like me, who knew Deshaun has a pretty low floor at this stage in his career, have to be shocked today. Because a 17-3 lead against that team, the Browns, is a death sentence. And I don't know if the people in camp knew this was coming, and it had to be like the longest death march. 6 weeks of like, holy shit, we are walking into a beehive. We're just marching into a beehive, and we know it, and people don't know it. Vegas knows it because they set this total at 7.5, and the roster's really quality. And I know they went into the game without 2 starting tackles, but you told me DeJuan Jones can handle it. You bring in Jerry Jeudy. There's excitement there. Amari Cooper's still the man, although he's probably pissed off that they were dangling him in a trade, and the trade didn't happen. You're down Chubb. All these things are true. But this guy, Deshaun Watson, is cooked. The theme of the day is it's week 1, okay? So as we get down the line, I don't want to make any statements that lead you to believe that I think I know exactly what's going to happen, because we learn this lesson every year in week 1. But this is one place on the map that I can point to and say, I don't know how they fix this. The people in Cleveland that gambled on bringing him in have to feel like a guy who put his life savings on a total that went over in the first quarter. Or, they're just sitting there sweating this bet. And while the guy in the sports book is done with that in 3 hours, these guys are sitting here for the better part of a half decade, and they're going to be collecting dust watching this franchise, the one that needed a quarterback more than any. They finally get the best quarterback they ever had, because Deshaun Watson in Houston was amazing, okay? He was a magician. But then they take the gamble after that thing, and I got to say, I don't have a lot of empathy.
Even worse, when you look at what you gave up and how Baker's doing right now, it probably even makes you more sick.
Oh, imagine if you had Baker Mayfield.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, and so listen, maybe he got dinged in preseason. I doubt it. I want to go back to what I've been referring to for the past 2 years, which is Deshaun Watson's physical state. Everybody's talking about the mental state. Does he still have it? And that's one conversation. And no, I don't think he still has it because you pan to the sideline, and I'm not Oz the mentalist or a body language expert, but he is. It's the 1,000-mile stare. Physically, though, we talk about Andrew Luck. He got peppered, got hit out of the league. Same thing with Burrow early in his career. We've seen the effects of that. The thing we never talk about is Deshaun Watson in Houston, how many times he got sacked and hit. And I think his body's shot. I think his head's shot too. And this team let Joe Flacco walk out the door, and he ain't walking back through it. So I don't know what you're going to do. I really don't.
I do. This is
because this is your team.
This is my Super Bowl.
So you gotta. So let's figure out a way.
This started exactly how I wanted because
this is how you wanted it to start.
We need Deshaun Watson to look as terrible, broken as he can, so they give Jameis Winston the rock. That's their backup. That's who they put their chips on. So and I think that him in that offense, I think Jameis Winston in that offense, at right now in the present time, will be a better chance for the Browns to win or to have a chance to win if he's running that offense. Like you're saying, I don't know if Deshaun Watson, if it's over for him. To me, he looked uncomfortable. His shoulder doesn't look the same. His throws don't look the same. And like you said, he's still getting hit. Yeah. And for someone who already is kind of falling apart or being put back together, taking those type of hits and being the running quarterback that you are, it's not going to bode well for him.
Breon Mitchell said Watson's going to light up week 2. Chris, be quiet. Hey, Breon, I will drive to your house and deliver a check for $20,000 if the Browns win the Super Bowl. How's that?
Oh man,
yeah, Breon Mitchell, find her, because she doesn't know ball.
You're giving out Super Bowl bet like this $20,000, and then also you have the Dolphins Tua tattoo if the Dolphins
win the Super Bowl. Yeah. So
do I get a
listen,
piece of that, Breon?
No, because I gave the
Browns.
Listen,
I gave the Browns the Super Bowl picks. I get a piece of that.
Listen,
right?
No, Breon, you deserve this. You deserve to sit here with false hope for 22 weeks.
Oh man.
You know, but honestly, I just look at this Browns team and it's a shame because they've done such a good job of assembling talent. Now you're down in Njoku, and this defense is good, but they're not good enough to overcome this. And you know, like. This is how bad it was. I think the coaches were shell-shocked. They gave up 4 scoring drives in the second quarter, like in an 11-minute period, okay? 5:18 to go before the half. You're just like, please, let's take it to the break, right? Take it to the locker room. 3, I think they have a 141 possession, okay? The next play, they go 5 plays, 41 seconds. They punt. They get the big Turpin return. They give a 57-yard field goal. 2:06 left, okay? At this point, the game's out of reach. Just get to the locker room. Can we talk about it in the locker room? Like in private? Nah. 4 plays, 20 seconds, Kendrick's pick. Another field goal. And then 5 plays, 42 seconds. Aubrey from 66, which we should talk about. When you talk about the Cowboys, the way they play defense, they're going to be in some lower scoring games at times. I mean, like they're going to be in some games where people play complementary football, and the Cowboys' offense doesn't look just quite as good as that. And Ferguson's hurt for a week or two. That's a bullet you dodge there, because if you're down Ferguson, all of a sudden some of the things I worry about with the offense come true. Okay, but if you just hang in there and get to half down 10 points, like maybe there's a way. And maybe that's how Cleveland wins some of their games, keeps the points down, run the football. But I don't see a way that they can do this. Dallas's defense is damn good. Zimmer's damn good. And Aubrey can kick the ball from 66 yards casually. He kicked the ball through the upright. Right? They didn't count it. Yeah, you almost gave up 4 scoring drives in 11 minutes.
I'm pissed they didn't let him go from, 71?
Oh, me too.
Just let him do it.
Or just kick. It's still an improvement. Just kick it. Just kick it, Mike. You robbed us all of he hit from 66.
Yeah.
Kick it again. The guys, he's been kicking it into they get the big dog's eyes. He's just been kicking it into the dog's eyes all first half. Just try from 71. But I will say, the defense from Dallas deserves a lot of credit. Micah Parsons running through a guard on that Lawrence sack. He lost weight. He's down 240. I can't tell. He's a stud.
They had 6 sacks and 17 QB hits.
It was
DeMarcus Lawrence too.
Lawrence is a stud, man. The defense
5 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 PFLs. I think Micah Parsons had like 9 quarterback hits or something like that.
Crazy.
It's ridiculous.
That's a good day at the office for them. And, you come in thinking Cleveland's defense. Well, Dallas, that defense is going to keep them in a lot of games this year. And we'll see if the corner issues – I mean, like, that's an easy – if you're Dallas, that's ironically who you want to play week 1, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Because you got Kalen Carson, who's got to play big snaps this year. You lost Bland. They are – changing the defense, and there's a lot of communication on the back end with Zimmer, changing the picture pre-snap. So this was a good game to actually start with.
So just looking ahead, how do you think your boys Saquon and Jalen Hurts is going to do against Dallas?
Well, before we get there, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because it's your Super Bowl pick.
Yep.
You are the Browns brass. Congratulations.
What does that mean?
That means you got to make decisions, okay?
Okay.
What are you doing at quarterback? Let's say it's not Jameis. Is there somebody you'd call? Get creative, because I got a guy.
Pastronaut.
Yeah, I think this is what we call a Band-Aid.
What about Tannehill, Chris?
Who?
Tannehill.
That's realistic, okay? I want to give you something that might be – some people might scoff at me. But physically, the guy looks there. People think he's washed. People thought Baker was washed. Let's see how Carson Wentz is doing.
Come on.
Let's call Andy and see what it would take to part ways with a quality backup for Patrick Mahomes, a guy who's played good ball before.
Over in-house?
Over in-house, yeah. I know what the ceiling on in-house is.
But, like, to try to win now, you would do that? Trying to win now.
Give Jameis a run, and if he doesn't look good, and I mean good, then you throw as much shit as you can at the wall and try. I mean, it's like being down big. You throw a bunch of parlays up there trying to get back to 0. And Carson is that juicy 5-leg parlay.
We've talked about preseason tape being worthless. Carson's preseason tape, much better than Jameis's.
Yeah.
Saying.
It's still
worthless.
It's still worthless.
Just saying.
But
for whatever it's worth.
For what it's worth. And it might be worth nothing. I would look. Now, to the question about the Eagles, man, I felt good the other night. I walked away from that game, and I don't know about you, Beau, but I walked away thinking, like, damn, they fixed a lot of things on defense. Bond, your boy, played awesome. Mitchell looks like a stud. The front didn't do anything spectacular, but they had a lot of hidden plays that helped them win the game. And offensively, the motion, being under center, having answers for the blitz, Saquon just looking like Saquon, and Jalen surviving Jalen's bad moments. The floor on his bad moments was really low. If people want to know more about what I thought about that game at 1 a.m, right after it happened, go check out our YouTube page. I did about 45 minutes on that game. Suffice to say, I think it's a 2-team race, and it's closer than I thought because the way Dallas looked yesterday. It is week 1 for both these teams. But Philly got better. I don't know if Dallas got better. Right. And Dallas's work that they have to do is going to be in December and January. They're a great regular season team. Yep. And it looks like this confirms that they'll be, competitive again. But when December and January hits, are you going to be good? Right. And we won't know that answer for a long time.
It's the Dallas cycle.
Yeah.
This is when they're good, and then a few more games, a few more wins. The fan base is going to start getting a little bit annoying, and then they get really annoying going into the playoffs, and then it's all shut down when they lose.
It's whatever it's going to be. It's going to be spectacular. I think this race is going to be a lot of fun, these 2 games. When you start thinking about these teams, you think about matchups.
Right.
And I think the Eagles match up pretty good up front.
Yep.
So that's check, right? I like Saquon on Dallas's backers.
Yep.
And safeties. And I like Goddard on the middle of the field guys. Outside, when you got AJ and Smitty,
right,
it kind of feels like you got a mismatch on a corner.
Yeah, and that's the spot we don't know about coming out of yesterday because Carson wasn't really tested.
He wasn't tested. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Dallas, and yes, I am looking with Eagles-colored glasses, but I got to admit when I'm doing it. But I also think the defense got better, and the big question for me is, can they tame the beast? Zeke Elliott, back in the day now, used to run all over them. Yep. Can they control the run game when those two teams play? Because I think they'll be able to get pressure.
And BetMGM didn't change the odds on NFCE, so
great.
Eagles still minus 150.
It's great.
Lane,
great. We're fine. Everything's fine. It's totally fine, dude. Totally fine. That game yesterday did not make – but I want to give you, Cowboys fans, don't come to this chat or walk around saying, hey, Chris Long's a homer or he doesn't give the Cowboys due. You guys played great yesterday. I mean, those jokers were flying around, and Dak Prescott deserves a lot of credit and respect, and I'm happy he got the bag. If you didn't do it, I'd understand why, but you did it. Here we go. Jerry, you are married to this cat the rest of your life. There's no divorcing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rich guys love to divorce people. You can't divorce Dak Prescott now because I think you're with him for the duration, brother.
Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, how do you think they do against what can I say?
Can I answer that one, Fax?
Tank and Micah. I feel good about that. I feel pretty good about that.
Well, I feel good about that on the edge. I think the question mark for the Eagles is the interior of their offensive line. I don't know if you guys heard this, but Jason Kelsey retired.
I did hear that.
Is
that the guy from the Buffalo Wild Wings commercial and the garage beer commercials and the other commercials and the other TV shows and the other TV shows?
New
drinking game. Anytime you watch the Eagles game, and drink every time you hear the word Jason. You hear the name Jason.
Hey, new drinking game. Drink every time you see Jason on TV. I would have alcohol poisoning. You dipped your toe in the water a little bit with that garage beer.
Oh, I did more than dip my toe in the water during that commercial, Chris.
Yeah, that was that. The only thing separating that from a porn scene was like a bucket and a sponge, but that doesn't really necessarily do it either. I mean, these two were like naked on top of a Cybertruck. It was disgusting.
I didn't see it. I
retweeted it, but don't look. It was really
put that up for facts. To answer Nate's original question, he was talking about Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence on the edge against Jordan and Lane. I think the question. I think that's actually a very even matchup across the board.
Yeah.
Like I think that's fun to watch because it's premier players at both edges. But the real question mark for me is like Micah Parsons is such a great move piece for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
You've seen it in the past, and you've seen Mike Zimmer get really creative historically with a gap blitzes, moving people around, kind of having that versatility and mobility out of great athletes on defense, like Micah Parsons. So I think you can see a potential scenario when the Cowboys and the Eagles play where Parsons is like mugging up in those A-gaps like Anthony Barr used to do with the Vikings, trying to attack Cam Jurgens, and then the new right guard Mekhi Becton for the Birds. I think that'll be a fun thing to watch. Is just your creativity on defense that Zimmer can bring.
They're roasting your mic, Beau, in the chat. Mark said Beau got that McDonald's drive-through, Mike.
Let me get
the guy set up his shit.
I don't even. Okay, fuck.
Oh, got him! Got him!
You just got to rattle him.
Got him! Yeah. Hey, Stadium Pulse.
That was really impressive, Beau, making it that long.
How many has he got now?
One.
Okay. All right, we're coming back. I'm like the Bills yesterday.
I got to swap my mic, though. I don't know how to do it on this live. We'll have to talk to the tech people, but
we'll keep going till the ads.
Okay, so to let you finish, it's an even matchup. They'll move Mike around.
Creativity to move Micah Parsons around and get a good matchup against a pretty good Birds offensive line.
I'm worried about those guys being tall and Micah bending if he's getting under. That's always that always worries me.
Yeah. I mean, they're bigger guys. I mean, like, hey, would I rather see Bosa against Lane than Micah? Yeah. Because he can sit on power. I mean, Micah's he's like a werewolf. Yeah. It's just you don't know where he's going to be, and he's quick, and I think we've seen the matchup before. You can go back and watch it. It's been pretty evenly matched. Definitely, you don't hear that coming into a game a lot, that you have two tackles that can handle those two guys because they're as good as it gets. Anyways, that's enough on the Cowboys. The one thing when we talk about the Browns, they got to beat the Packers to the punch. You know, and before we leave this game, you guys, reviews on Brady. Matt cringed.
Can you hear me? I got a bone to pick. Am I coming through, or is it one of those telephone cans, like you used to do when you were a kid?
I think it's going to be a telephone can the whole show, and people are going to complain, but we'll fix it.
I'm so annoyed at how heavily Fox advertised Brady in the booth. I thought that was so annoying. It's like, oh, we got the Cowboys and the Browns. Oh, no one is tuning into a game to hear an announcer.
But I think they are, Beau. You're not, but I think they are. I think a lot of people in this chat were waiting with bated breath to hear. And when the game started, I was like, "Who's that?" Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it took some getting used to.
Mike Pereira was also like, "Who's that?" when Tom Brady tried to do my
oh man, man. No problem, Kyle.
Dang. But Olsen, worse is if Olsen's probably watching. Like, this is who you.
And that was my fly on the wall.
Oh damn! This is who you guys replaced me with.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen. I still think Olsen's the best. I think like I got to watch Olsen do a game yesterday. I forget which one because I watched so many damn games. I think it might have been, I don't know which game Olsen did yesterday, but it was like, man, this is an enjoyable listen. And also, I want to shout out somebody that doesn't get a lot of credit, Ross Tucker. I think Ross Tucker's great, man.
He's good.
Yep.
Ross Tucker, I think he was doing the Buffalo game yesterday.
Yep.
And I'm like, because this is a topic, Brady. Ross Tucker was great. Olsen's the best. Brady's not there yet. He's also the guy that got drafted like 200th and worked his way up to being a Hall of Famer. So give him time. I didn't think he was awful. I just think there's so much expectation when he walks in the booth that he's going to be.
After the first week, what team would you compare? Who's Brady?
I would say he's
the Cardinals.
He's a rookie QB.
The Cardinals.
He's a rookie QB. He's like he wasn't Williams.
Bo Nix.
He was maybe Daniels or Bo Nix. Like that's a tough situation. Also, Brady in a blowout. Like that's not that easy. You got to fill a lot of space and. When the game was competitive early, he's feeling his way.
Blowout's the toughest spot for an amateur announcer. He reminded me of Magic Johnson. When Magic Johnson retired and he started announcing, everybody was really excited tuning into those games, and it did not go so well.
Listen, I think he's going to be fine. I think he'll figure a way, but it is true that Olsen's the best right now. But when you bring Brady on, you don't expect him to be better the first week. We'll see. Okay. Let's talk about one of my favorite teams, a team that I put in the Super Bowl, for goodness sakes. Houston, another team in Texas that had a great day. Okay, that was a tough game. And you can expect that with Indy. They are not a perfect team, but Indy is a team that's going to give you a full day's work. That front seven is fast. The front four is physical. They ran games. Big, right? Just monsters, dude. And they're all healthy right now. And Pay got a sack early. They overloaded the front. Got to him with Buckner, I think.
Yep.
They had him pinned back the entire second quarter, and there was that bad end to half sequence. So early on, it was kind of tough going for Houston, including they didn't really call an aggressive game. They took a field goal on drive one. They took a field goal out of the half, when you thought maybe go. But the throws from C.J. Stroud, I mean, I think he hit Brevin Jordan on a knee.
He was on his knee.
He was on a knee.
Yeah.
On 4th and 1.
Yeah.
He gets knocked down. He's on his knee. He trips over somebody because the pressure's there. The 3rd and 11 with the game on the line was just a pearl, as you would say, Nolan. And maybe no better play than the one they needed the most. 3rd and 14 to Collins, rolling right at midfield. You got to go up 2 scores. You got to have it. There's no down where you see teams not Miami, some of these other teams that are really explosive, but on 3rd and very long, you're kind of they check it down, they throw screens. And, Houston will lay up sometimes. But with that quarterback, I'm taking shots to 3rd and 19. You know what I mean? Why not?
Yeah.
Because he can make throws, the arm angles, the stuff, off platform that are unbelievable. He survived a really dumb play on a boot where he just kind of threw the ball into the air, and he also survived a near pick trying to throw the ball to Tank Dell at the goal line. But that was his hiccup, and he got out of it. And I think what helped him in this game and will help Houston so much this year, because last year we looked at a team early in the season that had no run game. I walked away from this game and I said they ran the ball up this team's ass. And this is a physical team, okay? The run game was the star of the show. Mixon looks quicker. I don't know if it's the fact that I'm seeing him run downhill more. He's more under center where he can kind of build up a head of steam. He looks physical. He broke tackles.
30 for 159.
30 for 159. And, they went 2 back in gun and lots of motion shifts. They ran a reverse the Dell late in the game. The run game was multiple. It was like, add up the concepts, it was all over the place in a very good way. I thought that was really good. And the big shot to Nico doesn't happen if they go run 3 straight times, then they hit play action Nico.
Yeah, it was just a great run plan. I mean, first half you probably saw more of the outside zone stuff, kind of heavy, trying to stress the edges. But that interior 3, Scruggs, Green, Mason, they did a great job with Grover Stewart. And a lot of those runs, they pressed toward the outside, and then Mixon cut it right up.
Cutbacks.
Then the second half, you roll out the gap scheme. You saw power. You saw toss. Those things. All in all, it was just a great run plan.
To see them with a run game, you're talking about a team that's going to the Super Bowl or talking about going to the Super Bowl. For them to have a run game that can get you 100 on the ground, and and I think in some of those situations, you knew they were running the ball, and they still ran the ball. And to have Diggs in the first quarter, we're already starting with the narrative thing. He's on the sideline. He's a little animated. He's talking about something, and people are like, he's complaining already. Well, then they go to him in the red zone. Right away, they clear somebody out with Collins. They get Kenny Moore's eyes, and they sneak him right underneath. And, he's a red zone weapon. The second touchdown he scored, there's too much cushion in man. It's easy. So, he's going to be a big piece for them. You obviously have Dell. You have Nico Collins. You have Schultz. They were very decisive in the red zone. You talk about those 2 situations, and then at the end of the game, they get in, they run motion. Tunsil cuts 32 in the open field. I mean, that's a really tough block. They just look sharp, and they didn't coach the best game. This was not D'Amico's best game. That end of half sequence could have bit them. Yep. They weren't aggressive in some 4th and short situations, but it worked out. And I think they also realized coming in, and we talked about this, the reason I didn't pick Indy to win that division, but the reason I think they're a playoff team is they're very good. Like, they have a very good roster. You can see that. But Anthony Richardson needs some time. Anthony Richardson's accuracy is like he's me on the softball mound. Where it's like you just don't know where the ball is going to go. Sometimes you're like, wow, that was perfectly placed, but I just might take some guys to the full count. And the same thing with Richardson, 4th and 1. The first 4th and 1, it was like the stadium was like, is it a dead ball? He hit the mascot. He went Bull Durham. 1st and 6 on their last scoring drive, he throws it into a sea of bodies, dude. A sea of bodies. So, nearly throws a pick to Alshire. He's just off a little bit, and you can see
polarizing. Chris,
he is.
The ball to Alec Pierce was phenomenal.
The ball to Alec Pierce,
shuffling away.
He had two of those.
The thing is, okay, when you're listen, I know a lot about quarterback play as a nose guard in the NFL. I know how to frickin' heave that ball.
Nice.
When you're like rolling away from your throwing arm and you have the time to like turn your hips back and really rip it, you can chuck the ball because you get that torque. You know what I mean? That momentum from your hips. Yeah. He was like shuffling back with his hips square and still threw it in the air like 60 yards to Great White Hope.
70. He 70 threw yards? The ball 70 yards off his back.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Foot. I have never. Okay, I know it's the week 1 thing, but it doesn't matter because a throw is a throw. I have never seen a throw that impressive in my life from a standpoint of sheer arm strength in the NFL. Yeah. Find me
Collinsworth, throw of the year.
Collinsworth did not watch the Texans and the Colts play because that throw from Anthony Richardson was like, I didn't know humans could do that. Like when he did that. And it was so perfect.
Right.
I would take shots if I were Indy all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Like the 22 Eagles offense was just like deep ball, and it won a lot of games that way.
Mix in some QB run because that's something you get a lot of mileage out of. I actually thought Houston did a pretty good job on the running backs.
Yep.
But like the best ball of the day might have been, and this just goes to show, other than those 2 bombs, like the best ball, like intermediate ball he threw, was that danger bird. To 16
to Doolin,
Ashton Doolin.
Yeah,
I mean, that was an absolute danger bird, dude.
Yeah, it was.
That thing was like, when it left his hand, I'm like, that's picked.
Yeah.
But it was there with such velocity.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, so it's really easy to look at this guy and say, hey, yeah, I want to make this guy into the next big thing. And they will try to do that. They have Flacco waiting in the wings in case he struggles or gets dinged. He took some shots. 97 slammed him to turf early. And, I was like, man, that might be a concussion. But he wears a size 8.5 hat. And then he got smoked at the pylon his last drive and ended up having to run it in 2 plays later. Is this sustainable? Can they develop him as the year goes on? Can they fix his mechanics? I don't know.
Right.
He sprays the ball, but
he's young though, Chris.
He is young.
He missed a lot of time last year.
It's a rookie year.
I think he's showing enough exciting traits and talents to like you gotta stick with him. I'm in his corner, man. I think he's a marvelous athlete. I like the guy. I think he's sweet. I think this was actually a shockingly good AFC South matchup for week 1. You know what I mean? I was expecting this game to be really sloppy. And like to that credit, like some of the early primetime games this week for week 1, they were sloppy. Like I think the Chiefs-Ravens game was a bit sloppy.
Yes.
The game in Brazil, the turf was sloppy. There was some very sloppy early play.
Yes.
I was expecting a lot more slop out of this afternoon slate on Sunday, and this was a clean game, man. I thought this was a pretty good game from these 2 teams. Like,
and for
the
fans,
Colts are better than I thought they'd be.
Colts are pretty good.
And for fans to come, like as long as CJ Stroud and Richardson stay in those franchises, it's a fun
little rivalry.
It's a fun rivalry of 2 young quarterbacks that if they stay on track to be good, like we'll see some great battles.
Who was the javelin missile in a chocolate suit walking into the stadium? That's what I came away from that game thinking. Like Anthony Richardson showed up to the stadium sharp. I know you're doing your what you call it, your Drip King of the Week. I want to input his name for consideration because that suit was a thing of beauty. And then to be able to throw the ball 70 yards, like this guy's got it going on, man. We just got to hone in some of the intermediate stuff and some of the like timing with some of his.
And the Colts catch a break in week 2 because they're playing the Packers without Jordan Love.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. And so, we go back to the Jordan Love thing. Like there's a lot of teams that wish they had a quarterback right now, even if he doesn't have perfect mechanics or any of that. So Colts fans, it's going to be a work in progress. Texans fans, the future is now. It's right now. Mm-hmm. Okay, we got to talk about the biggest letdown of the day. Cincinnati. Okay, I just want to say this before we make this a Cincinnati-centric breakdown. Gerard Mayo deserves a lot lot of credit.
Yep.
Amen.
Does he deserve a Gatorade bath, though? Come on.
I do.
Yes.
I think so.
First dub.
Your first career dub,
What are you, joyless?
right? When everyone expects you to lose.
He's
Hey,
your
Bill
age.
Belichick
He's my
would
age.
never.
Yeah, well, Bill Belichick won 1-0. I mean, this is really cool.
Beau, you doused yourself in Haterade last night.
No, I love Mayo. I'm just trying to stir the pot a little bit. I think it's great. I just think it's a little funny to.
He deserved that moment because then Robert Kraft steals his shot.
Yeah, exactly.
Post game.
Yeah, Mayo. Perfect.
I remember when I was my first game.
Mayo, perfect post game. Breakdown. You think you're in somebody's sarcophagus, the way they were like, "Oh, we finally have access to this tomb that no one's looked inside for 3,000 years," and then Mayo's like the perfect coach, and Kraft's like, "Hold on a second, hold on a minute, player." I think the game plan was great, and Cincinnati played into the game plan by being slow out of the gate. I mean, when they got down, every possession felt like get them off me. I can't breathe, and when you know that a team's like, hey, we're going to run the ball. We're going to get into 13 personnel, 13 big, which means they're going to take one of those tight ends off the field. 13, the 3 is for 3 tight ends. You get into 13 big, you take a tight end off the field, you put a big tackle, he plays tackle over, and you get these big wings on the edge, and their whole goal was, let's pound the ball at these guys, collapse the edge a little bit, and make guys like Hill tackle. And he did not, and guys did not. The game ended with them not being able to make tackles on the edge of the defense because little guys were part of the game plan for New England. And I thought it was a great game plan. I think, Cincinnati threw everything they could at that game plan. Like, they got in bare front. They put B.J. Hill at end some, at left end. I don't think the front got bullied. If you're a Bengals fan and you're reading this morning that the front got bullied, don't listen. It's week 1. This team decided to jam the ball down your throats, and the guys in the second level didn't tackle well. I also thought Jacoby Brissett did a really good job at times with his legs. Mm-hmm. Big drives he extended, and Lou Anarumo did not have his best game. Like, he had to get creative to try to, on early downs, to try to slow the run game down. But there were situations where you had Hubbard drop into the flat. He's like out leveraged immediately. You're taking your best rushers off the field. I thought Pratt struggled at times in the run game. They just threw a lot at them in the run game, and there was no like, hey, we'll get away from this. It was just like, this is what it's going to be. The story of the game for me is the defense for New England, and I don't want to spend another second without talking about Keon White. I've been like, I'm going to talk about Keon White.
The meme of the kid at the desk.
Yes, Keon White he was the best player on the field. He was the best player on the damn field. And we've been talking about him for the better part of a year and a half, kid out of Georgia Tech. You wonder why they felt like, hey, we can let Matt Judon go and get some capital for this guy. The very first drive of the game, I think he won with an up and under. And from that point, the next couple third downs, they were short of the sticks. They were just trying to get the ball out. And, you barely saw them take any shots. He ran over Kappa at one point. In the fourth quarter, big moment. It's 3rd and 5. You got to get off the field. Uche on the edge wins, White in the middle, and the ball's incomplete. And that's not a sack, but these two caused it. And the next time those guys get the ball back, they're backed up with 2 minutes to go. So these are huge plays in the game. Pat's just stayed in zone. Gonzalez did a good job on Jamar when he had to, and Duggar made a huge play or two. Okay, listen, this sequence of the game was the whole game. 7-0. It's been tough sledding. Cincinnati gets down there. They throw the ball to Gesicki, which was a beautiful throw, and I was jacked about that because I love Gesicki, and I think he's going to be a revelation for them. All is not lost there. They just miss. Duggar's got great coverage. The ball couldn't be thrown any better. It's incomplete. The very next play, I think you end up with Tanner Hudson. And I don't think he's celebrating.
Yes.
No, I don't think he's celebrating. Have you watched the All-22?
I think he is celebrating.
No, he's not celebrating.
He's not.
Nope. Overruled.
He didn't see the guy behind him.
He saw the guy, and he's switching the ball. And as he's switching the ball, he's just not very athletic. Mm-hmm. And the ball ends up out off his body, and Duggar comes in and makes the big play, man. He also had a huge, 2 plays ago, Joe's going to hit the over to Irwin. Duggar gets depth, closes that window.
Though he wasn't.
And I will say this, Josh Allen makes that throw. The 2 plays before the Tanner Hudson play, Joe Burrow's amazing. But people are always on my ass when I put Josh Allen up second in the NFL as a quarterback. I saw Josh make throws like that yesterday. You got to have that throw. And then Tanner Hudson has to get in the end zone with that ball because it's 7-7 at that point. And you feel like, okay, we've all been in games, the 3 of us, where the team's supposed to win, but you find yourself down and it's like a panic fest. If you can just tie the game, but when you're on defense and all of a sudden you might be down 2 scores and the offense can't do anything. And I mean anything. There was like a 3rd and 2. They went to quick game out of the half and Burrow misses Hudson again and he's behind him and it's just the timing's off. I don't know. I think they'll get better. I don't look at the Bengals and say but listen, when you look at Baltimore, it's unfair to me to say that they're better than Baltimore. Baltimore hung with the Chiefs, and these guys lost to the damn Patriots. So the Bengals have a lot of work to do, even as a team that I took to win the North. Here's me looking like a fool week 1, but it is week 1. These guys play possum.
Why is that though, Chris? I want to ask you about that a little bit. There's two things that stand out to me about this game. The first one is exactly what you just said. The Bengals start historically slow. I don't understand. I get that they lost Mixon. That's big. T. Higgins is out. Jamar Chase did not practice in camp.
These are big.
A lot of inconsistencies there. It just feels like the Bengals haven't had a good O-line ever, really. And I don't really think the O-line was that bad on Sunday.
Bengals under Joe Burrow are 6-8-1 in September.
Dude, and this is it. Like last year, I did the thing with the Bengals where I said they can't possibly look good this year. Joe's banged up. They look off. They're not running the same offense. And hot stove, man. I'm not going to touch it this year. I'm going to give it a few weeks. I'm going to give it a month, okay? That's not what we wanted. This is Joe's first healthy preseason. But when Jamar's playing the sick game, and Higgins is out, and, it is game one. I didn't expect them to go in and put up 30 points. I bet the under. I thought they'd win this game 23-10, but this was a game that totally flipped in that regard when New England got out in front. And I got to give props to Jacoby Brissett, Alex Van Pelt, Gerard Mayo. The defense was great. The defense.
I want to shout out DeMarcus Covington is the new
DeMarcus
coordinator
Covington
for the Patriots.
Yeah.
He was my D-line coach in Philly in New England when I was there for, a second. But he's a good young guy and he's a big unknown in the NFL world. But he had a good game plan and the defense played well. He got that D-line, like you talked about Keon White, he played great.
We got a very decisive "they are not better than Baltimore" from Lindsey Kennedy. I don't know though, Lindsey. Last year, when I said certain things about Baltimore, everybody called me a hater and a loser. And I also saw Joe Burrow mid-season shred San Francisco like no one shredded San Francisco last year when they were healthy and they were rolling. If they can get healthy, if he can stay healthy and Higgins can get healthy and Jamar gets into form, I didn't see anything defensively where I'm like, oh, the defense is cooked. They just have to tackle those backs. And in most situations, they're not going to face a defense like that. I know it's the Pats, but that's a top 5 to 10 defense if they're humming. I think that.
Yeah.
And so the game plan didn't work. They're slow out of the gate. And not to mention, if Cincinnati gets to the playoffs, who's better? You say Baltimore's better than Cincinnati. Who's better if the two teams are in the playoffs? You can't win that argument. And so I expect both these teams to be in the playoffs. We'll see what the ceilings look like as we approach December and January.
Ravens did emerge as a big favorite in the division, plus 110. Bengals down to plus 230.
I'll take that. I'll take that. I mean, that's good odds. Take a shot at that thing. Wish I had waited till after week 1.
Or you could get the 1-0 Steelers at plus 550.
Which is also fun because I don't think the Steelers, and this is right where we're going now, I don't think the Steelers are bad. They're like New England, but with more offensive pieces. That defense is fun. And, of course, we're framing this with Cincinnati had a letdown, Atlanta had a letdown, okay? Atlanta looked rusty, and Pittsburgh looked like a team that gets work in the preseason, okay? Now, that doesn't explain away losing the game, but it does explain some of the timing things. We saw a lot of pistol. Bring the Atlanta offense. Will you bring that?
Let me pull it
What
up.
are you laughing about?
I got that
right. A little fake pistol.
You got a lot of pistol. You fucked up. I said.
I said it.
Okay.
Oh, you got close there.
Oh, that came close.
All right.
You got those pistol stats. Read them for me, Nolan.
Falcons were in pistol on 96% of their snaps today. Of the 22 snaps out of gun, the Falcons had 0 designed runs. Of the 26 snaps out of pistol, the Falcons ran the ball on 81% of their plays.
Yeah.
Who's the offensive coordinator in Atlanta?
Zach Robinson.
Canales.
Okay, Zach Robinson called plays last year?
No.
I'm sorry, you said it where?
In Atlanta.
No, he said
Atlanta. Atlanta. Is that,
Did Zach Robinson call plays last year?
No.
Has Zach Robinson called plays before?
No.
How did Raheem Morris's first stop go? Good and then bad. Okay? There's something you have to think about when you make a team, you put them in the Super Bowl or you put them in the playoffs off of an off season with a new coach coming in the building. Coaching matters, okay? And I know it's just week 1, but, this is not a team that I look at and say, yeah, you hand them the NFC South, even if they get the coaching right. They have some work to do. Everything should be easy on 3rd and short to medium with Bijan Robinson out of the backfield. He'll break tackles. He's a nightmare matchup. Atlanta tried to pound the ball, and they should, running away from Watt, who was simultaneously wrecking their game. He was on the razor's edge of wrecking the game the entire first half, but they'd run the ball away from him. I mean, they ran the ball probably 80% of the time to the left, and when they did run the ball at Watt, he forced a penalty early in the game. 3rd and 13, they're checking down early in the game because they don't feel like the rushers, you can keep them off you. Like, it felt like Pittsburgh was at home. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, to your point about running away from Watt, 22 rushing attempts for the Falcons. Watt was on the field for 19 of those plays. On those 19, they ran away from him 15 times.
That is, you want to talk about DPOY.
Right.
Okay? Yesterday I walked, and there were a lot of great defensive players. Hutchinson was great. Micah was Micah. Some guys had some good days. Mm-hmm. But watching TJ Watt.
Right. I mean, that's exactly what you talk about when we say, like, this is a guy you have to game plan for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going anywhere near him.
And when they dropped back,
he got that sack strip fumble called back too, which is egregious.
He was like a team.
He was not offsides though.
Okay, then give me my sack back against Oakland my last year, because I swear when you're that close and you're just a bit early, they always call it. Ty always goes to the offense, and I thought like maybe he was a hair late or a hair early. But when they did get to the point where Pittsburgh had to rush, they had to let drop back and pass, the rush was too much, especially in the second half. They drew a Matthews penalty on 3rd and 2, and then immediately gave up strip sack to Watt. They got bailed out by a penalty only to give up another sack. They tried to run at Watt. There's a holding. They end up in 3rd and 15. Big possession late. They get an illegal formation on 1st down. It makes it 3rd and 12, and they eventually punt. Threw a pick to Dante Jackson, which ended up giving Pittsburgh insurance, and that's Ogunjobi on the pressure. He also bailed them out later. So the front was really disruptive, and Kirk just didn't deliver. 2nd and 1 was that pick to Ogunjobi, or 2nd and 1 when Ogunjobi pressured him on the Elliott pick. That down and distance, that's never something you should do. You look in the flat, they take away the flat. Joey Porter Jr. takes away the flat, and he just panics because the rush is on him like that, and he rifles the ball in the middle of the field. It's 2nd and 1, Kirk. And by the way, Joey Porter Jr. is a good matchup for Drake London, not for nothing, because he's big and physical. You could see that as the game went on. And if you got a big and physical corner like Denver and you play Atlanta and you take away Drake London to a degree, like that offense is going to have a hard time. And so I thought from a secondary standpoint, Joey Porter did a great job. Elliott, Jackson, immediate returns. I mean, that was a huge play late in the game. Way better than this year last time. This year last time, you watched that team at backer and on the back end, and you were like, wow, they're going to have trouble. Not this year. Got to give Pittsburgh's back end some credit. And the Steelers were better than Atlanta at being conservative. They really were. I mean, they started with a fumbled snap, second play under center, the center gets run over. You have to burn a timeout. So, it felt like things were spinning early in the game. They go down the field. They settle for a field goal instead of going for it because you don't go 10-0 down on the road. They would run on 3rd and medium in situations like that. They just decided to pound the ball. And when Justin Fields had to make throws, he made them. End of the half and end of the game. Okay, end of the half, he hit Pickens. We're all like, Pickens, what are you doing? He's trying to run down the field. Like, bro, this guy is a live wire. And then late in the game, if you can just get over midfield, you take a shot. If you can get over midfield and push it to 18-10, you're going to win the game. There's no way they're driving the length the way they're playing and then converting two. And they take the shot, and I thought the ball on the sideline that Fields threw that came back on 3rd down, including the out that he threw to Pickens, if you're worried about can he put the ball where he needs to put the ball, he absolutely can. The processing thing is what they're guarding against, and maybe Arthur can help him work as the season goes on. I would not start Russell once. I know this is like an easy hot take, but this is not something that I'm reacting off of yesterday's game about.
Let Russ cook. Let him cook.
First off, I want to know this too.
Yeah.
Why does a franchise put him in the position to take so much scrutiny? If you're inactive, your pads are not in your locker. Like they're not in your locker. Why does he have shoulder pads on the sideline?
That's an insane
The leader,
issue.
dude.
No,
Dude,
so what? Yeah. No, hell no. Like I feel like that's almost like illegal because it looks like you have an extra player on the sideline. Like how do you still get to have your shoulder pads as an inactive player? I don't. As a guy who was inactive a lot. When you walk into that locker room on game day,
can you imagine?
You have no pads.
Can you imagine if the eighth D lineman, the eighth D lineman, was like, "Hey, coach, I need my pads this week.
I need these pictures. I at least got to look good on the sideline with my shoulder pads on." Hell no.
Somebody said he was the emergency third QB in the chat.
No, he was inactive.
Okay, that's what I heard too.
Inactive. That means there's no such thing as emergency. When that happens, like you do what Denver did, you put a freaking wide receiver in that quarterback.
You can only dress 48 guys.
That's what I'm saying.
That's really interesting.
I don't understand it, and I feel like that's the organization's fault. Like for letting him, for even put him out there, just tell him no. Like, bro, no. You're inactive. You're going to be on the sideline.
No.
Put a hoodie on.
He's crying and trying to grab his shoulder pads. You're like, no.
Too good.
The way I take my phone away from my baby.
Exactly. That's my daughter's favorite.
You know what I mean?
No.
Yeah. No.
That's what they should.
Russell's standing on top of a locker with his shoulder pads on, like, no. No.
I just don't get it.
Like, I know what I'm doing. I have no idea what that was, bro. I have no idea what that was. But, hey, nothing against Russell. I just think Justin Fields gives you the best chance. There were a lot of QB runs that helped them in a big way yesterday. No surprise. This guy's electric with the ball in his hands. You got to – if your identity is going to be to run the ball, I think he fits that really well.
Yep. And the boot stuff off
of it. Move in the pocket, taking a couple shots when you can. Mm-hmm. You know, you get zone, you pull these defenders up a little bit. He can hit a deep over. Like, that's a ball he can throw well. And to throw that out yesterday to Pickens, I was pretty impressed. So, especially in a weekend where nobody was paying attention to him.
Yeah.
You know, everybody was paying attention to his replacement in Chicago.
Yeah.
And actually, if you're comparing the 2 days, right now, Justin Fields gives you the best chance to win. And obviously that's not why Chicago made the decision. No. Chicago has taken a little bit of
long game
right now and playing a long game. I don't think fans realize that, but Justin Fields can actually win you some football games if you got a damn good defense. And you can run the ball because Najee Harris was possessed. They love Najee Harris. Yeah. Arthur loves him. And I should have known this before I drafted Warren in my fantasy league. He got like 4 touches. Yeah. And I love the guy, and he emerged last year, but like Patterson is Smith's guy, and so he's going to get some touches out of the backfield. I would love to see Jaylen Warren get worked in more.
Before we move on, how many losses until we start hearing the Penix chants in Atlanta?
One more. because here's the thing: if there was some other backup, and you were in win now mode, and you brought in all these pieces. And maybe this is what makes them look like geniuses, right? Mm-hmm. Drafting Penix, where everybody was like, you idiots. Well, maybe this is the point, like insurance needed. I think it's also week 1. Like they were off. And also you have to realize when you look at this team, like, Ray McLeod made some nice plays over the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Is he wearing 34?
I believe so.
That is hideous.
I love that. That's sick.
And then it's definitely going to be something like, hey, my dog, I used to call him 34, got run over by a car or something like, and then I'm going to be like, oh, fuck. 5. Whatever. You can end the show.
He is wearing 34.
He's wearing 34. And then the same thing, I mean, Pitts showed up a little bit, like late in the down. I talk about the longer the down goes, I worry about Kirk, but like late in the down in the red zone, that ended up well with Pitts. How nice would it be to have Mac Hollins still there? Right. I mean, he was there a couple years ago, I guess, but
he scored this weekend.
Yeah. So, anyways,
here's the thing to me about Kirk, though, real quick. Like, there were a lot of mistakes that he made for a 37-year-old quarterback that's been in the NFL for however long and been with different teams, different organizations. Like the procedural penalty where they had that fumble.
Right.
the procedural fumble when he was bringing the guy across, like that's on the quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's like you expect to see that stuff out of a rookie, but
I guess the better question is, when will the organization and the coach pull the trigger? Fuck what the fans think. Obviously, they want to see the new guy play, but like, when do you think for them it gets bad enough where they're like, you know what,
dude, you play like that 2 more weeks, they're going to be asking for Penix, and the reason is because you drafted Penix, your window's open, you use something on him in the first round, you might as well see him if the other guy's not playing well. I expect Kurt to get better. I do. I think it's week 1. You could see in their illegal formation penalty, the botched snap. Like, he sent the motion too early. He's trying to tell him to slow down, and the ball gets snapped. They had other penalties that were timing related. I think you look across the league, guys are going to improve, but I still worry about the same things with Atlanta. You know, if you're talking about them winning the NFC South.
Right.
I mean, this is supposed to be the greatest show on turf this year.
No, and it's a great question because it comes back to that preseason game when we saw Penix. Raheem comes out and is like, we've seen what we need to see.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting thing to say about a rookie quarterback who you're not necessarily expecting to play for 2 years. Like, all those preseason snaps are really valuable.
Very valuable, and he looked good when he got in against Miami. So we'll see what happens there. Pittsburgh, really, we called this one. I mean, they came in, and I thought they'd cover, but they stole the show. I mean, they stole the show, and I think it comes back to, again, preseason, coaching, and the fact that Atlanta hasn't been together. So we'll see. We'll see. I think we keep Fields rolling if I'm Pittsburgh, but that's just me.
And just like you said,
and shout out to Pittsburgh special teams. They did a great job. So
and maybe it's something like you said, like with the preseason, this is an organization where they have a coach that lets you know, and everyone knows the starters, you're gonna play in preseason. You're gonna get reps. And when a gritty game like this, trying to win your first game, it kind of shows that might be the little difference of guys being that little bit more in shape, that little bit more conditioned, or timing is the right with players because you got those extra game reps, because you can't mimic the game reps in practice. As much as people want to say live scrimmaging and everything, it's not gonna be the same.
The question is losing a corner or a guard or a tackle worth a game in the beginning of the season? Because, like, it doesn't guarantee you a win to play them. And if nobody's playing them, you expect that, you know, a lot of these teams. But I would look at your week 1 opponent and say, hey, are those guys playing their guys? Because if they are, we probably should play our guys a little bit, you know? Hey, the next game is one that I cannot wait to talk about. I can't wait to talk about this game.
Our guy, Josh Allen.
He's our guy, dude. He's our guy. All right? And you can see it, a glimmer in my eye, talking about this team. It's not that they're going to be world beaters, but I think it was confirmed yesterday that guy's special and the offense is going to be okay. That was what everybody was making a big deal about. The defense, we'll get to that. Let's start with the Cardinals, because Cardinals fans, all 70 in this chat, and I'm not saying that to, like, take a shot. I'm just saying No, I'm not.
My fantasy QB.
I'm a big Kyler fan, dude. I said this to Nolan last night, and I was on 2 edibles watching the Sunday night game, so blame it on that if you need to. But I was like, hey, this offense, I'm sitting there watching it, because I watch the games and trail. 1 p.m.s, I start watching during the 4 p.m.s. I'm multitasking, and then the Sunday night game, I'm multitasking again. And I'm watching this game, and I'm saying to Nolan, I go, if you took this offense and just continued to add to it, and you made the defense a top 10 defense, this is a team that can win a Super Bowl. That's not a hot take, okay? Now, that's a big what if. What if you totally improve one side of the ball and you're 2 years ahead of schedule? But Kyler is a quarterback, if he's healthy, with this group, the way he's playing now, that can actually get you into the postseason. There is no ceiling on your team because of this quarterback. So I'm not saying he's top 5, but what I am saying is, like, he played yesterday one of the best games that I saw a quarterback play across the league, you know? And you think about confidence. He was a meme a couple years ago. He was a meme when they were like, are you going to trade him? He plays too many video games. He's short, like all this shit. He's just become a meme. But Jonathan Gannon knew when he took the job, I got to instill some confidence in this guy. And they talked about it yesterday. He went to his statue unveiling. He flew all the way to see that little thing. And that was a big deal. They pulled it out. And they were like, here it is. And Gannon was right there with Kyler. And I'm joking, but I'm also serious in that, like, that goes a long way. Mm-hmm. And Gannon, who we made fun of too, like, they were both memes. Gannon was pew, pew, shots, verticals. And he got that team to play tough last year and beat the Eagles and beat the Cowboys and play with teams. And there were times last year they played with Houston. There were times last year where I was like, this is a pro offense. Everything about this offense is dangerous. Teams, when they play Arizona this year, will come away, all of them, and say, whew. Mm-hmm. Boy, I'm glad to be out of that game, because that dude, I mean, Dortch, on third down, they're a nightmare. Dortch is a man beater. I really like that dude. McBride is a weapon, right? Kyler Murray can scramble. You want to go man, you want to go zone, it doesn't matter. He can tuck and run. He can find the opening. He went for 29 just like that in the second half against the blitz. Offense can run the ball. James Conner got the ball like first 6-7 plays of the game. Benson had a drive or two. And, you know, Marvin Harrison Jr., although, you know, he was close on a couple plays.
He was open a few plays.
He was open a couple plays. I think Kyler started 11 for 13. The only time the ball hit the ground was targeting him. So once they work him in, whatever that's going to be, they'll be even better. And I thought Petzing did a really good job, their offensive coordinator. But there's one decision he wants back, and that's the field goal late. Like, you took him right down to the wire. You got Wilson on the sideline. Drops the ball. They could be that much closer taking shots at the end zone. And Bills fans know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you weren't relaxed at the end of that game. But they jumped them 17-3, 2:50 to go in the second quarter, and the Bills need to go 2 for 1 to get back in the game. They went 28-3. 28-3 the rest of the game. They're still dangerous, and Josh's legs and his brain took over this game. I mean, we saw it. He drew a phantom face mask, if you want to call it that. Runs it in before the half also. You know, took a beating a lot of the game. Wanted a hip drop tackle earlier. Beat a free runner to find Cook for 25. That's vintage Josh Allen. Okay, I think that's out of the half. And with his brain, he didn't make any dumb mistakes. Here I am like, yeah, you pooped in the potty. But when you're that good, all you got to do is just not ruin the game. And he didn't make any dumb mistakes. He overthrew MVS. He missed the 3rd and 5 late, gave him the ball back with 5 minutes to go. But there weren't any like, what are you doing throws. And you know, he didn't throw an incompletion until 10 minutes to go in the third. I mean, checked him down in the red zone to get to Hollins, beat the blitz, checked him to a screen that went for a touchdown to Shakir. Shakir was a hero, okay? Extended the end of the half drive, running through a DB there. Gets in on a screen. Dawkins, great block there. The biggest one was that last scoring drive because they needed the cushion. He caught a ball with 5 yards to go to with the sticks. He's not a big guy. He's getting pinballed around. He's getting hit. They hit him 5 yards short of the sticks. He gives them 4th and short. That allows them to go and get the touchdown. And I think Shakir, we talked about it when we went to Buffalo. When I asked him about a question about Shakir, his eyes lit up. And then you asked him about Coleman, okay? And yesterday, maybe the most exciting thing for the Bills is I think they have something they haven't had outside before. Now, bear with me because he ain't Stephon Diggs yet. But what you have is a big target. He was compared to Michael Thomas. I heard it from Josh Allen. Yep. He said, this guy's got the best body control of any guy I've played with. When you throw that ball on the right sideline and he comes down with it, it was like a wow moment. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't had that there. And when you think about an offense, it's got Kincaid, it's got Knox, got a back out of the backfield, good play designs. Joe Brady keeps cooking. Like, I'm not worried about losing Diggs or Davis if you got a complete offense this way. And so I'm really excited about this group, despite the concerns. Samuel got the ball a couple times in screen-type situations. He'll get the ball more. That was pretty good.
The one thing I don't like and the one thing that can hinder their season, go low instead of jumping in for that touchdown.
He can't help it, dude.
I don't know, but like that's the only thing that's going to ruin your season. Like when you go in the air like that and you're a quarterback and you have to use either one of your hands to break your fall or your arm, like that's your moneymaker. And it's like the only thing that can go bad for the Bills is if he is not on the field. And that's just scary that like when you do that and you get the touchdown, but it's like now you have a nagging injury for how many weeks?
You don't like fun?
Not when it
joyless? Are you? Hey, I'm past that. Are you a joyless motherfucker? Huh?
How much fun are you willing to have this week not to have fun?
No, I get it. I get it. And that's why they have a system up there where if he slides, somebody has to come out in a jockstrap for practice. Like, it's a big deal, dude. Like if he slides and his legs are listen, one of the things I loved about Joe Brady last year is the quarterback run game came back late in the season. They ran the football. Cook looks good, if not better than last year. And this guy can break your back in situations. The thing that everybody's worried about, this defense, they took over the game the last 4 or 5 drives. And I got to give McDermott credit because he's a guy we put on the hot seat. You know, he ended the game going nickel storm if you play Madden. Double A gap, manned up outside, Ingram on an island.
Chris, you played in the NFL for 12 years or whatever, and you're referencing Madden.
I'm trying to help the people in the chat. So they go double A gap, and if you remember last year, like there were some spots where McDermott like got aggressive, like the Denver game with the game on the line and got beat. He doesn't care. He's going to coach these DBs up to play tough and sticky, and I don't care how much experience they have. Like those guys really played well, and they asked them to do a lot because when they're in nickel, 2 backers on the field, Bernard is not a big guy. I had to zoom in a couple times and be like, hey, are they in dime? Why are they fitting this personnel with dime? So they're light anyways, and then teams are going to try to get you on the edge, a la New England and Cincy. The difference is in this game, these guys came to play and these guys tackled. I thought with Morrow in the bullpen, you might see him a little bit, but they matched 13 sets with those light defensive personnel groups, and Cam Lewis made a few huge plays. The game's tied. They've climbed all the way back. It's loud in there. Like, this stadium's awake now. The alarm clock went off. Josh is up. Everybody's up. And they forced a 3rd and 6 because Cam slips a block and makes a great play in the open field, forces a punt, does the same thing in the red zone, 2 run plays in a row. Like, he should be celebrated today if you're a Bills fan. Same thing with Rousseau. You want him to step up. You wonder where the pass rush come from. He had a strip sack, help him go ahead. And Von Miller. Yes, he's still alive. Sight for sore eyes. I saw him with my own eyes in Buffalo. Still looks like the coolest person on 2 legs that rushes the passer. He had a big rush, 3rd down sack, power. Guys got their hands up late, and Ingram ending the game, as I alluded to. He's the guy who started the game with a dumb penalty, on a Kyler scramble. And then to be, over there with DeMar Hamlin safety help, that's going to be a beat late. To be hanging in there in man coverage and make that play, that was awesome. Sean deserves a lot of credit for getting this defense ready to play, who was in a bad spot early. What do you
I don't want to say what I'm laughing at.
What are you going to say? It's DeMar Hamlin.
A beat late, but I mean.
Oh, wow. No. No.
I'm sorry.
No.
It was.
It's like the other day, supposedly, we were talking about somebody in traffic. We were talking about Byron Murphy in traffic and how he just wrecks things. And then we compared him to Jalen Carter. And people were like, verbiage. I don't mean to. You guys are funny, not me. You're the ones that are funny.
Phrasing. Are we still doing that? Phrasing.
But one thing, how about, what do you think about this? Arizona, they're 0-1.
Mm-hmm.
They play against the Rams, 0-1. 2 teams that have a lot of potential, 0-1 next week's matchup.
I think Zona could hang in there.
Mm-hmm.
They really can. I mean, like, Arizona is going to make people's lives hell every Sunday.
Yeah.
And for rushers and D coordinators,
Bro,
like all week, we're puckered up because we can't even rush. They're so worried about this little guy.
Watching his feet.
It's like a water bug.
It looks like it's fast forward. When he gets his feet moving, it looks like someone's pressing the fast forward button. If you look how fast.
You hear the Flintstones thing. Did you say that yesterday?
Yeah.
When he's running, you hear the Flintstones thing. And that's hell to prepare for, and so is everybody they have offensively. Go watch Kyler. Do yourself a favor. If you didn't watch that game, maybe the most enjoyable game of the slate, and as quality quarterback play on both sides as I saw all weekend. I mean, Kyler was really fun to watch. Arizona fans, all 7 of you got fun in the future.
Yeah, and I also think it kind of gives credence to, Chris, to your take that the NFC West might be the best division. I mean, coming into the year.
The bottom is still dangerous.
Like, that was a really impressive performance. Obviously, they'd love to win it, but to go on the road against an AFC contender Like you got to be optimistic.
And for the Bills, you got to check yourself a little bit. Like I'm sitting here saying the offense is going to be fine. They are, but that defense isn't very talented. Now they have some good players. Those two safeties are really good players. And Deion Dawkins, McMillan might have seen his life flash before his eyes on that touchdown to Shakir. That was an incredible block. But the whole thing is when we looked at Arizona's defense, we're like, they're still a year away. They need to add more pieces, right?
Yep.
So that was a fun game, and Buffalo avoided the letdown. One more team or individual on letdown watch was Chicago and Caleb Williams. And we watched this game closely. Woo! I made this Tennessee bet in May. I was like, they're going to win this game. And I've never been so right about a game where I had to give money. Like, I've never been so right about a game. If Will Levis didn't try to be Brett Favre.
Oh, my God.
You know, Tennessee's special teams were terrible. Now, they did recover a fumble on the new kickoff rule, but that was just a freak thing.
Yep.
Otherwise, it was like Chicago got all types of wins with their defense, with their special teams. In the middle of the game, me and Nola turned to each other and saying, man, this guy can call a game, Callahan.
Yep.
But as good as he was cooking it up, like there's no good call for a quarterback that can't just hit the mascot, buddy. Just put it in the first row.
Right.
You know, it's at that point it's a tie ball game, or did they tie it on that pick six?
It might have been tied at that point.
Yeah, I mean, so it was just a terrible decision. And on the other side of things, Tennessee, that defense is a lot of fun. That's going to be a well-coached group. You can see the physicality that Denard Wilson brings. He was with me in Philly. He's been with Schwartz. He's been with Greg Williams. He's been with McDonald. Like he's got a good little portfolio. And you walk into a room and you add Awuzie and Snead and all those guys, and you got Simmons, and they're just the rushers are relentless. The secondary was physical. I thought they had a really nice game defensively. And, yeah, it's a rookie, but I heard he's Patrick Mahomes. So you better give the Tennessee defense some respect or acknowledge that rookies have a ways to go when they get in the first week of the NFL. Inside the NFL last week, Bill Belichick caught a lot of heat for being, in people's estimation, too dismissive of Caleb Williams' 20 red zone or preseason throws. You know, Chad said, hey, like, I can't wait to see the Bears because of this Caleb Williams. And Bill didn't get the knee pads out, and people have been killing Bill for a week. All right? Y'all need to come back to that now, because he was right. It is preseason. And in saying that, he's not saying the guy's going to be trash. But what he is saying, and what I was saying was, in week one, things are different, okay? And the timing looked to be a little bit off. You know, I'd like to chalk some of the missed go balls, like the out and up, stuff like that, up to timing. You know, he kind of got bailed out. He drilled a dude in the helmet, and then a couple of plays later, they get their first touchdown, I think. So it was just that he was all over the place.
And maybe one of the reasons why early Bill doesn't like him is because Bill is a guy that doesn't like players talking in the media. And what was one of the first things Caleb says? He tells the new punter, Torrey Taylor, don't worry, you won't be punting a lot. 6 punts, 270 punting yards, 45-yard average, 3 inside the 20. He actually punted a lot, and he did pretty decent. Helped them out.
Yeah,
and
help flip the
that's
field.
maybe the first.
Help flip the field.
That's maybe the first guy you're coming up to after the game and being like, "Hey, sorry, man, the workload was a little heavy today. I told you would never see the field." But
what did Coach Belichick said 10 of 20, right? In the preseason, he was 14 of 29 yesterday. So he's right on that 50%.
And listen, and I got into this thing with the guy from QB school who was God damn. It's only because my brain is spinning right now.
O'Sullivan?
JT O'Sullivan.
Yeah, JT O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
JT O'Sullivan, who's the best, bro. Like, if you watch his
stuff.
breakdowns, they're incredible. And he's a pro quarterback. And, you know, he had posted the other night, like, you know, this is Cap, a video of us on Inside the NFL, and, like, you know, people aren't going to want to be on the wrong side of this and yada, yada, yada. Like, the Williams fans, we don't need to be like this. Put the gun down, man, guys, right? gals, no one knows. And for Bill to say, hey, I just want to wait a couple weeks before I break the knee pads out, like he kind of got killed over it. And I had tweeted JT to be like, hey, just so I'm clear, who's going to be on the wrong side of history here from this clip? Because there's going to be a lot of people mining clips to see who's right and wrong. Mm-hmm. No one knows. And that's the point we're all making. And me and JT were going back and forth under this video. I think what you end up doing at the end of the conversation is realizing that, like, okay, we're kind of on the same side, which is nothing's happened yet. You think he's going to be amazing. I'm not as confident as a JT O'Sullivan or a Bears fan or some of the other guys who have anointed the guy to say it in preseason. I want to see it in the regular season. So
yeah, but okay, Chris, the Bears are 1-0, man. An ugly win is a win. That's great. You know what I mean? Like, they got to win.
Non sequitur, Beau. We're talking about the quarterback's performance. Hey, they could win 17 games this way, but in the playoffs, eventually you can't play that way. I mean, you're not going to win 17 games that way. I
would rather play bad and get a win.
Huh?
You'd rather have a rookie quarterback play bad and get a win than play great and get a loss. That's all I'm going to say.
If you have playoff aspirations, yes, and they do. But I don't want to see it 2 weeks in a row. I don't want to see it 3 weeks in a row. Like, if that was Drake May that played that way yesterday or Jaden Daniels, what are people saying?
Bust.
So all I'm saying is, if you're going to get mad at people for not anointing the guy in preseason, then you also have to be loud about your criticisms of him when he falls way short of that marker. He could be Patrick Mahomes one day. You can see it, that he has some rare arm talent and some mobility and some creativity. But
he didn't show much.
But it's early.
So much jitter. It's first game
early.
First game jitter.
Win.
And I picked them to win Offensive Rookie of the Year and picked them to go to the playoffs because that team's so good.
A concern for the Bears week 2, though, is rookie wide receiver Rome Odunze did he's getting an MRI on his knee this morning. Doesn't know the severity.
Yeah. That doesn't matter. Caleb's got to make the passes, open guys.
Yeah.
And maybe his adrenaline and his play will go up. Next week you're playing against one of the best new quarterbacks in the league. You want to aspire to kind of have the season that he had last year. Maybe you could step it up, change everyone's opinion, go and get another win.
I think the biggest thing you take away from this game is if Caleb can figure it out this year. The Bears were down 17-0 to a team that's got a good defense and was running the ball pretty well at times. And they came back to win.
Yep.
And the quarterback threw for 100 yards?
Yep.
They could not get into any sort of a rhythm passing game, and they still found a way to win that game. Now, there are outliers there. It'd be one thing if you won the game 12-7, Beau, in your hypothetical, your binary hypothetical of would you rather, okay? But it's another thing if you're saying we're going to live off of a pick six that the guy basically he fucking threw a bouquet at a wedding.
Yeah.
It was like, here you go, you're up next.
And then fell to his knees.
And then they were up by 1 at that point.
They were up by 1 at that point.
They were up 1.
And then you get a run back, you get all types of stuff that goes wrong for you. So that's not sustainable.
My point is this. It's early.
Mm-hmm.
Did Caleb Williams play well? No.
Yeah.
Did any rookie quarterbacks play well? I honestly don't think so. I don't think any of them played well. Jaden Daniels had some decent stats, but I don't think he actually played that well.
No, they're rookies, man.
Anyway, what I'm saying is the Bears got an ugly win early, and that's the kind of thing that can help. That just helps your team so much later down the stretch. And that's all I'm saying.
And everybody's a hater, and then when they're right, it's like, well, it's week 1. I'm like, that's what I was saying.
But the
whole fucking time.
The best equalizer for all of this and the Bears, one thing they have on their side right now is if their special teams keeps playing like the way they did. I mean, a kickoff return for a touchdown. Like a kickoff return for a touchdown in a game is huge, and now even more with the new kickoff and not having a lot of tape, coaches not having a lot of tape to really break down how can we exploit this new kickoff, what can we do.
That's a hidden thing. Yeah, there were some big plays yesterday.
Whatever teams can really dive into that, and coaches can really dive into that like efficiently during the season right now, I think that's another edge teams like that aren't that good can use to their advantage because field position is going to be huge for a young quarterback.
No question.
We talk about
and he had good field.
it
Tennessee also going up 17-0 was a miracle because the whole beginning of the game was a disaster from a field position standpoint. Breon, you're back. I love you. Breon, I love you. I do love Breon. Breon, you're Breon. It might seem like I got a rivalry with Breon. I don't. But she said Trevor Lawrence did 2 years, did nothing, had the number one pick his second year. Media didn't advertise. I guess what she's saying is that, like, what about Trevor Lawrence? We didn't do this week one. How do you know we didn't do this week one? This is what things have gotten to where we're like, what about this guy? What about this guy? Do you want him to be Trevor Lawrence? Because I don't. He's supposed to be Patrick Mahomes. If he's Trevor Lawrence in 3 years, this is a failure. Yeah. Even though Trevor got paid, did you see what happened yesterday? Is that where you want the Bears to be? Losing to Miami when Miami had two guys in cuffs before the game and fucking couldn't get the offense going for a lot of the day. And, eventually they found a way. It was a tough, gutsy win by them. But, like, Jacksonville did not look great yesterday. Trevor Lawrence is yet to, other than that 1 year, look like the guy they drafted him to be. So do you want him to be Trevor Lawrence, or do we really want to go back to that and be like, what'd you say after Trevor Lawrence thing? Are we comparing him to Trevor Lawrence? Be better than Trevor Lawrence. I didn't say he's supposed to be Patrick Mahomes. Y'all did. So now you have to defend that claim. The only claim I ever made is he's a rookie quarterback with a lot of talent. Let's see what happens. Burden of proof's on you, not me. That's the way this works. So anyways. What's next?
How about those Giants?
Rookie quarterbacks. Jeez, it's like politics. It's crazy. And it's really like scratching a lottery ticket, which was my whole point last year where I was like, I don't know.
I like lottery tickets.
I know you do. I do too. But yeah, the lotto tickets gotta I think they're due for a better game from the lotto ticket. Positives for them. I thought the big tackle looked a little better. 99 for Chicago, the rookie.
Oh yeah,
yeah, or second year guy.
Dexter, yeah.
Dexter.
Yep.
Gervon Dexter. He looked a lot like quicker. There was some talk in camp about him coming in a little bit better shape. Darrell Taylor got involved.
Yep.
Sweat made his presence immediately known. We know about the linebackers. It's a great group.
Yep.
Defense is fun, man. Offense could be really fun. They just got to get this thing worked out with the rookie.
Yep.
Okay, what's next?
Vikings win 28-6 against the Giants.
Sam Darnold's good.
Yep.
True.
Yeah, no, this was just like, I feel like we've been talking about, you think about the Vikings.
About rookies. Who's this guy?
Right, exactly. And then like this, we've been talking about this situation they have in Minnesota dating back to last year of like, man, if they could just have a competent quarterback here. You have great talent at all your premium spots offensively with tackle, at receiver, and one of the best play callers in the game. And then we get into pre-draft, and it's like, man, what a shame they're not in position to take a QB here. But they go and sign Darnold, and golly, it worked out really well yesterday. He was so efficient. Mind you, going back to the place where he started his career as a number 3 overall pick, probably still has nightmares about playing there.
Yeah, he's back in the ghost. He's in the haunted house.
Goes back to MetLife.
He's exorcised the demons.
Completes his first 12 passes. He hit Jefferson, which I'll talk about later. Also hit Naylor, who Jefferson said on our show as a breakout candidate for them this year. And they weren't all perfect pockets either. Dexter Lawrence was incredible in this game. He was pushing the pocket all afternoon. People talk about the interception, but that was really because Dexter Lawrence high-fived him as he released the ball. It became like a pop fly. But yeah, with Darnold, the play that really stood out to me was 4th and 2. You're up 7-3 midway through the second quarter. They could have just taken the points, go up a touchdown. But not only does KOC go for it, he puts the ball in the hands of Darnold, knowing he's going to get blitzed.
Yeah.
Sam puts it on the money to Jefferson, tight coverage from Banks on a slant for 6, and you could just feel the confidence they have in him.
And it's uncharted territory for KOC, who's a hell of a coach.
Right.
We love this guy. and we love seeing Darnold get another shot. We hate the fact that it had to be JJ getting hurt. But when they made this signing, we said from the beginning, they're going to be better. They're going to be better. They're going to be better. And as long as Sam Darnold doesn't look like the guy at his first stop, why would he? It's like he walked into a house of horrors. It's almost like context matters in this league.
Right.
And if Darnold succeeds this year, I want everybody to look at things differently when it comes to evaluating rookies and young players. Because no one feels sorry for Sam Darnold. He's got a lot of money. At the beginning of his career, he was drafted high. But I do, as a former high draft pick, have some empathy for a kid that walks into a Jets locker room where Adam Gase, I think, is calling the plays. And that guy is who we say he is, right? And he's in Carolina. And last year getting the stop in San Francisco, it's that same like pit stop that Baker Mayfield had.
Right.
You can see the same thing where you go out west at a retreat, and at this retreat they just talk ball. They talk play design. They talk, working through your progressions. You learn a lot at this retreat. It's like a camp for quarterbacks that have struggled their first couple years in the league. You go see McVay or you go see Shanahan, and then you go get a job. The same thing happened with Baker, and you see what happened to the Bucs, and hopefully the same thing happens to the Vikings, because now you look in this division,
right?
And I don't think you can look after this Sunday and say, like, Darnold's a world away from the top of the division if he plays like that. Now, that's a big if. If he plays like that, and the Giants are the Giants, but if he can play quality football with Jordan Love out for 6 to 8 weeks or something, they can make up some ground and put themselves in a position to compete for a wild card, at least.
Yep.
So, listen, B-Flow's defense is B-Flow's defense. We saw Dallas Turner get a sack. Like, they're all over the field. But Darnold.
How about University of Wisconsin standout Van Ginkel, the pick six? That was a sick play.
Guy's just a playmaker.
Yeah. He's like one of those guys who doesn't look like much. Like, no offense. Like, no offense. You look at him, he's not Myles Garrett in pads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No offense to us, too.
No offense to AVG.
He does look like you're
right
typecasting him. You're typecasting him doing his paint job, because I walked up to the guy in Minnesota and was like, "Wow, he's really bigger than I thought. Like, he's a big kind of like rangy
great
looking
athlete.
Yeah, he's
real. And that was a sick play.
Here you go, backpedal.
His interception. He picked. He picked Daniel Jones off in 1.16 seconds, which is almost as fast as his interception of Sam Howell last year. Over the last 2 years, he has the two fastest interceptions in the NFL.
Yeah.
The guy's a heady player, and you had another one of those. You saw something from him.
Wisconsin
you saw
linebackers, Chris.
Yeah, dude, just smart guys. Great weekend for those guys.
Leo Chenal,
yeah,
Edwards, Zach Bond, and Van Ginkel.
Yo, LBU. Is it LBU?
That's a good little crew. Come on now.
That is a good crew. That's a good crew right there. But we want to give Darnold his flowers. Who knows? It's week one, but he certainly looked like the guy we expected to see.
It is week one, but looks like Drew Lock era is loading.
Holy crap.
Loading.
Holy crapola, guys. Holy crapola.
I seen a stat that's going to make you say, holy
Daniel
crap.
Jones is flipping bad.
Crapola.
You can grow all the beards you want.
Daniel Jones, since he signed his $130 or $60 million contract, he has more pick sixes than touchdown throws.
Hey, they need to go back and give Brian Dable Coach of the Year 2 years ago. They need to go back and posthumously
participation award,
because I cannot believe they won a playoff game the way this looks.
No doubt.
And I was coming in being like, they're not going to make the playoffs, but they could be kind of stingy because of the defense. But they couldn't even beat Sam Darnold, who might not just be Sam Darnold. That's my only point. Okay. And then we haven't even gotten to this. The sleepiest big game on the slate. I think Jacksonville, Miami is two teams that have playoff aspirations, right? Two teams we would not be surprised to see them in the playoffs. But obviously, and walking into the Sunday slate, we had the Jamar Chase thing. There was Schefter was like every 30 seconds he had a spot, right? Sunday morning, if you were watching ESPN, there was some breaking news. And then the most shocking one was Tyreek Hill's handcuffed. And, when I saw a video of him getting shoved down, take a seat, whatever that cop was saying. I was like, maybe it's a little much. I have to know what happened, but like, you know, it seems like somebody's a little upset. You know, the police officers are agitated with him. What went down? Then I'm seeing Calais Campbell after the game talk about he got handcuffed for and Calais Campbell, I know you're supposed to just follow orders and stuff like that. He's one of the nicest, most calm, most like, I'm sure he stood there and did whatever he could to just keep Tyreek calm or say like, and he ended up in handcuffs. And so I'm starting to think like, you know, maybe something's a little wrong there. And I just want to say this, because I don't know what Tyreek did or said. Like, you know, there are ways that you can make a bad situation go worse. A traffic stop, that sort of thing. And this is a touchy subject, but I will say this. When I was a football player, from the cop in Philly who I rode the bike next to while I was warming up to get back out on the field, like, and I spent a ton of time on the bike because I was old, who would stand there next to me and we'd have great conversations, and I still see him in Philly sometimes, and like, you remember those guys, you pulling into the link, you know, the same cops were always there every week and they knew you, and like they'd just let you right through. And same thing with St. Louis and New England, you knew those guys. And to hear that somebody gets detained right outside of the stadium, you're like, something non-standard happened. We'll wait to hear the details, but I will say it does sound like they put the officer on leave, which to me is kind of an admission of, hey, you might have been a little bit overboard on this thing. And for the Miami Dolphins to get it together, credit Mike McDaniel, younger coach, can relate to players, probably walked in and said, listen, it was bullshit. Or maybe you made a little mistake, but we got to focus on this game right now and put it behind us. And they were able to do that and go out and play in a game where they found themselves down most of the game. That was impressive. And for Tyreek to compartmentalize that, football players are tremendous compartmentalizers. And I've said this before on this show, you know, terrible things can be happening. You put your head down and you go to work. Like, football's almost an escape for guys. It did not surprise me that he found the end zone. It did not surprise. It surprised me a little bit. He did the cuffs the cuffs thing, because I was like, wait, whatever happened? Don't you want to appeal that? You know. But the last thing I'll say on the police thing is Drew Rosenhaus. Get you a Drew Rosenhaus, because I've never seen an agent that like is there at the arrest and then rushes into the stadium caked in sweat to give his account of what happened. Like, it was like Drew was like, I want to be a police officer one day. We're like, that's news to me. And then Tyreek after the game was like, I want to be a police officer. Are they going to do a buddy cop movie? Listen, people out here that are listening to this show, I know the police thing is always a touchy subject. When I encounter a police officer, I try to show the utmost respect because I know they have hard jobs. There are cops who can be a little extra. And for a guy who's trying to do the same thing he does every week, I don't know what happened, but it is believable to me that maybe Tyreek didn't do much wrong and ended up in a little back and forth with the cop and then finds himself in cuffs, because there are those cops out there. We'll wait to see what really happened. But when I heard Calais Campbell was in cuffs and then I heard that he was on paid leave, like, they don't put cops on paid leave a lot, if you haven't noticed. Okay, so that was probably, I don't think it's just that he's a Miami Dolphin. Okay, we'll see what happened. Overall, let's talk ball.
I didn't know Calais got put in cuffs, because that probably explains his first couple of plays out the gate where he was just wrecking shit in the middle, firing off the ball.
Yeah.
So
yep,
that's an unfortunate situation. But like you said, guys were definitely able to compartmentalize.
Well, I mean, yeah.
And get back on the field and sneak out of there with a win.
And again, this is a touchy subject. I know you guys all have opinions, but I don't like seeing Tyreek get shoved to the ground. You know, I just don't like. You know, and I don't like hearing Calais is in cuffs. That's just me, the human being. I don't know who's right, who's wrong, but it seems like there's a better way to resolve that.
But if it was for a traffic violation and not wearing a seatbelt, you don't want to see that. That doesn't need to be necessary.
No. Now I don't know what Tyreek said. We'll see. But yeah, Miami dodged a bullet here because they have big aspirations, and Jacksonville looks sloppy. Like, Jacksonville, to me, it's the same problems you had last year, where it's like little things, dude. And and not playing a full game. You look back at last season, details and not playing a full game hurt them. In many spots, they play a half a great football, half a bad football, going all the way back to, they had to dig themselves out of a huge hole to beat the Chargers in the playoffs. Like, Doug has not gotten his team ready for 4 quarters.
Right.
And I think Doug's a great coach, but whatever's happening there, they got to clean some of this stuff up. And not for nothing, I love Doug being aggressive, and I kind of, like, as a gambler was like, go. But that wasn't the play, and maybe not the spot. So I thought Tua hung tough. There were some balls that he probably wanted back, and early in the game I thought they looked kind of vanilla. I thought Miami, for being such a scary team at times, looked kind of vanilla early in the game and kind of hapless at times. But they were able to eventually turn it on, and Tua threw some nice balls, and they can hurt you in one play. That's the thing. Like, at their best, they're like the Warriors, where they can close a 3-touchdown lead late. And if we're going off of any barometer, which is usually the Jags, would they hold them to 21 or?
The final was 20-17.
2017.
Yep.
The Jags might have a pretty good team, because that's kind of how many points the Dolphins score when they encounter a good defense.
Right.
And I'm not taking shots, but, like, that's a good thing for the defense.
Yeah.
But overall, as a team, they have to be more on their details, man. Like, and not for nothing that the rookie is a guy.
Yep.
Brian Thomas is a guy.
Legit.
So that helps. And Gabe Davis looked good for them at times.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's over for them. I'm not saying Miami's not going to be a lot better than that, but it was a sleepy, weird game. And I think more than anything, Miami, just as a team, the ethos of that team overcoming that issue, that was a big deal for them. It's the season opener. You want to start off 1-0. You got your best player in cuffs outside the stadium.
Yeah. Jacksonville tricked that off. Travis Etienne, you can't fumble like that point in the game, and that if he scores there, that's the game. It's pretty much the game, and that's a huge turning point. You run 10 yards from the 12-yard line, about to score, get the ball knocked out 2 yards into the end zone.
Yep.
Can't give a game away like that.
Yeah, they had 6 second-half drives, 4 punts, turnover on downs, then the only good drive, fumble.
The fumble was awful. I mean, you go in and score there, it's a totally different game.
Totally.
So, listen, I'm going to be able to dig into the all 22, give you a little bit more on this game or midweek show. But I thought this game kind of got lost in the shuffle, but 2 good teams playing in it, and ultimately, maybe not the marquee matchup. I think now Miami's in a spot where it's like, you got to prove something to us to be like the game everybody's watching this year.
And we'll see Thursday night against the Bills.
Thursday night against the Bills is going to be a lot of fun. There are answers on both sides of the ball. We'll try to find the answers, but there's questions on both sides of the ball defensively for those teams. I think Miami offensively is still working some things out, you could tell, but Buffalo is going to be a test. It's going to be a test for sure, and Miami's going to be a test for Buffalo.
Dolphins favored by 2.5.
Ooh.
Wow.
Where's the game?
Miami.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Miami.
And probably Dolphins are mad because they don't get a Heat game, right? Because it's night. No, seriously. I see fans get mad at the schedule release. They're like,
it'll still be hot. Don't worry.
It's still going to be hot. They're still going to be talking about hydrate up. And I think for both those teams, they both played in like draining games. So we'll find out. And the injury report, we'll see what happens with that coming out. I can't wait to look at Chop Robinson's tape, get a better look at how he played. We'll check it out.
All right, Tampa Bay got off to a great start, 37-20 over Washington. Beau, what'd you see from this one?
Yes, I'm excited. Tampa Bay Beau here, local Bucks beat reporter. Excited to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Honestly, I think the biggest thing that I was looking forward to watching in this was just the Bucks offense under their new offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen. Honestly, they looked super comfortable. So Baker Mayfield had a little bit of familiarity with him from his like cup of coffee with the Rams last year. And I was talking with Baker a little bit in the offseason, trained with Baker. So I got to talk to him about it. It's like super excited. One of the things that Baker mentioned to me in the offseason that came to fruition yesterday was just how Chris Godwin is going to be used in this new offense. And Chris was amazing. I think he was targeted 8 times. He had a touchdown. He just looked really good, really the whole offense, like they were just kind of rolling from the beginning of the game. So excited to see them kind of, get the offense going under a new coordinator, kind of a new look, and then use a guy like Chris Godwin. Honestly, I don't think he got enough touches last year. Chris is like super physical. He plays really hard. He's got good hands. I'm excited to see him kind of play in more of that power slot. All the commentators live during the game kept talking about, he's got that Cooper Kupp role, that Puka Nacua role, blah, blah, blah. But people forget, like, under Bruce Arians' offense, Chris Godwin was an absolute monster. So he's a friend of mine. I think he's a really good player. I love the way he plays the game, and I'm excited to see, that out of him. A couple other things, I think just talking about the Bucs offensively, they ended up kind of really controlling this game. I think their O-line, a little bit of question marks, but they actually did a pretty good job running the ball. I think they were dead last in the NFL in run game last year. So one thing that I was kind of keying in on is just whether or not they're going to be committed to running the ball. And I really like their edge players. Like Gedeke, their right tackle, played well. Like he played well last year. He was solid. Tristan Wirfs is really good. I don't think he had his best game yesterday. But the interior of the Bucs O-line is a little bit of a question mark, I think, going forward. They did run the ball well. Like they were committed to it. A lot more zone looks, not much gap scheme, a lot of duo though.
How'd Graham Barton look, future Hall of Famer?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I really liked him in preseason. Remember we talked about him, Chris? Like he's a good athlete. I think, he looked like a rookie, honestly. Like I don't want to be overly critical because it was his first live game.
Imagine that.
I think Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen are really good interior defenders for the commies. Yeah. But I think he's good. Cody Mock, the right guard, I worry about a little bit more. He's a guy I would have he's kind of a heavy puncher, head leaner, so he can get beat clean at times. But like Baker showed, he was comfortable, man. Like even when he had to escape the pocket and like get on the move, like he picked up some first downs with his feet. Like I gotta give Baker love. He looked good. He looked really good. So I'm excited about the Bucs going forward. And then crazy to talk about the Bucs and not mention Mike Evans yesterday. Like, dude, if Mike
so automatic,
we talk about the St. Louis, he's so good. Like Mike Evans has been so good for so long
and likable.
Watch his,
it's so easy to like Mike Evans, dude.
Yeah, I watched this game with Cam Brate, my buddy who's a tight end for the Bucs forever, and it's fun to watch as a nose guard football with like people that played other positions. Obviously, we're all defensive linemen here, but like they just clue in on such different things. And like Mike's catch radius, like it's really hard because you basically have to cloud Mike every time. If you don't, you're gonna pay for it. You can't press him because Mike is a huge body with like really long arms. So he's just such a matchup problem for teams defensively. And like he really showed that. Like he had 2 touchdowns that were great.
Yeah.
He had great, like he has great hands. He's just got great like body control and awareness. Like I honestly think like Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer, man. Like he is. You
honestly think that?
I just think
he's a Hall of Famer for sure, dude.
Honestly, the most underrated wide receiver in the history of the NFL.
Wow,
underappreciated. He's so good
because you're saying he's like first ballot kind of good, but he might not go in first ballot because he's a Hall of Famer. It's like, yeah,
but if he played for a big media team, it would be like. It's unbelievable.
But that's the reason, Beau, that I took the Bucs to win the South because you're talking about big media team. Like Baker is going to be in a really good headspace. He's got the best situation he's had. It seems like the offense and the team likes him more than any group he's been on. Like it just has clicked. And like you talked about it, getting Godwin back in the slot, having a real number 3, the rookie made a play or scored a touchdown. McMillan.
Jalen McMillan.
Yeah, having Jalen McMillan out there, adding a center who, like we said, he might have looked like a rookie yesterday, but he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And
running back White is good too. Offensively.
White's a beast, but Gedeke being out there at tackle where he's supposed to be, like this team's just more complete. This team's more complete than the Falcons. I know it's just Washington, and I know it's a rookie quarterback. By the way, how'd you think Jaden played?
So I want to get to that. I think he looked a little like unsettled early. Like his first NFL pass was like it's kind of like a swing pass, a running back. He threw it way behind him, and it was just kind of interesting. It was a little of what we talked about with JJ McCarthy when we were at Vikings camp, like facing that Brian Flores defense. To open up against the Todd Bowles defense is interesting to me because like they're not. I played on that defense. Like that defensive coordinator, Casey Rogers, was my D-line coach. The Bucs are not going to let you run the ball just straight up. They got Vita Vea in there. Like you play out this, it's called Solid Titan, like super bare front. They really did not want to let the commies run the ball, which makes it hard on a rookie quarterback. Okay, and like I think I'm looking at Jaden Daniels' stats right now. Like he didn't play that bad on paper. The game was just kind of controlled the whole time by the Bucs. But like they really wanted to try to make Jaden Daniels beat him like by throwing the ball. And it's like it's just not you're not going to make a lot of hay there, you know, when you're a rookie. So I think the most he looked really mobile, which is exciting. Like that's a hard thing when you're blitzing like Todd Bowles does, playing a lot of man and stuff. Like the quarterback can escape, you know, and you don't have any eyes. Like he looked mobile, he looked pretty good. It just like he just couldn't really get the offense in a great rhythm and get everything going. I mean, I liked what I saw to Jaden Daniels. There just wasn't a lot there. Like the Bucs looked very
the Bucs are a damn playoff team. You look around the NFC, you look at Atlanta. Okay, they got some work to do. There's not a lot of continuity there. You look in the NFC East; those two teams at the top are probably playoff teams. Maybe not. Maybe one of them doesn't get in. Who knows? But like the NFC North is down a quarterback. The NFC West, might have injuries in LA. Like the Bucs can stay healthy, and they can just keep this train rolling. At the beginning of last year, they weren't running the ball. Late in the year, they got into it more. You talked about them being like kind of dead last. You know what else they're really good? They're really good in third and medium. They're just really good on third down. Like I can remember games last year where, like playing Green Bay, Green Bay couldn't get them off the field. And I'm talking about like third and medium to third and 12, like because of the receivers they have outside, because Baker throws a pretty good intermediate ball. I think people are selling this team short, and part of it's the market and part of it's because we just get bored with this Tampa Bay thing. They've won the division 3 years in a row, quiet as kept. And we think because of the drop-off from Tom Brady, they're not the same team. They still have a high ceiling.
And you can still get them to win the division at plus 220 behind the Saints at plus 200.
Plus 220?
Yeah, and the Falcons are still plus 145, which doesn't add up to me.
Well, okay, so the book is reacting to the Saints' victory. Beau, should we?
Yeah. I don't. So we talked a little bit about, the Saints and the Panthers last night. You're like, let's talk about, Beau, I want you to tell me why the Saints look so good. And I was shitting on the Panthers. I was like, because the Panthers blow. I went and watched the game. I was really impressed by the Saints, honestly. Like their O-line, you know how it is, Chris, when you're a D lineman, like you really clue in on like small things of D-line play, like hands and feet and stuff like that. When you just kind of zone out and you just look at the movement that the O-line from the Saints generated on the Panthers D-line, and like Panthers have a good D-line. Like Derek Brown is really good. Like super highly paid. Like 120 tackles last year, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah, well, you can say
but what I was getting at is like I was really impressed with the Saints O-line, and they started the game really strong. Like Derek Carr, you look comfortable, man. Like they do such a good job of controlling the pace of the game with their like big personnel run groupings. You know what I mean? So like for everyone watching live right now, like 12 personnel, which is one running back and two tight ends, but they have Foster Moreau, their inline guy, and then they have Taysom Hill as a move guy. And you can do a lot of different stuff with him. They do a really good job. Like their under center runs were awesome. Alvin Kamara, dude, he looked really good.
That's good because the last 2 years it hasn't been the same, and all they've been talking about was running the ball.
No, he looked good, man. And then their shotgun runs. Like I was really impressed. Like Derek Carr, came out, they drove down the field, he threw a deep ball that was nice. So they got up 7-0 quick, and then Bryce Young came out and immediately threw just a bad pick.
Just a brutal
pick.
There's
no other way to put it. It's just bad. It's a horrible start to 2024 for him. And then you give the Saints, a short field. They ended up kicking like a 55, 57-yard field goal or something like that. And it just felt like the game was over after quarter one. Like they were up 17-0. But like, I think the biggest takeaways for me is like Panthers didn't start strong offensively or defensively, which is just not how you want to do it. And then the Saints, like, dude, they just did such a good job of controlling the game with their run, their run game. Their O-line was great.
Yeah. Probably the perfect spot for them to get out in front of somebody and stay out in front of somebody. Like if they want to execute their ideal plan this year, that's a good team to do it against. Like, I don't know if that works against everybody else, but I got to look at them.
Yeah. But they look like I feel like the Saints have a really good understanding of who they are and who their players are, and just putting their players in good positions to win. Like Taysom Hill got some really good carries too. Like out of as a running back, like he looked really good. He almost had a sick touchdown that he just barely he went up for it. Like super athletic play for him. And I mean, Foster Moreau had a really good
super athletic play for
a for a white guy,
for a Mormon pass catcher,
30-year-old quarterback,
positionless Mormon pass catcher
/ running back.
He is a.
But beast. I guess Taysom Hill looked, dude, and they played like the Saints. We talked about the Lions' offensive line and how physical they looked, especially overtime and stuff like that on Sunday night. Like Saints O-line looked physical. They looked good. I was really impressed with their O-line. They kept Derek Carr clean. Like they really just controlled the game, man. The game was over in the second quarter. But I mean, as far as the Panthers, Derek Brown, I guess, suffered a pretty serious knee injury. Still waiting on news for that. That's a bummer for me. Mm-hmm. I really like to watch him play. Their offense, like when you get down like that early, like honestly, the Panthers' run game, it was pretty good. Like it really wasn't bad, but they got down early, and you know how that goes, Chris. Like they got to throw the ball. Like Bryce Young just didn't seem like he felt that comfortable in the pocket.
Cleveland versus Carolina. What do you think? What do you think happens?
I think Cleveland wins.
You're looking at me like
Cleveland 4-0.
4-0. I feel bad for this kid. It's week 1. I don't want to bury these guys. Let's not kill the Panthers. Panthers fans are dealing with it enough right now.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, Chris. Like I said, I was expecting it to just be one of these things where the Panthers made a lot of mistakes, which they did. But the Saints also looked good, man. Like they look really good.
We don't need to kill the Panthers because Derek Carr already did. He played really well, but also, did you see him talking a little trash?
No.
He pointed at J.C. Horn, and J.C. Horn was moving his mouth.
Yeah.
Derek Carr was like, "Dude, I have 3 touchdowns on you."
Oh, that's awesome.
It's pretty.
J.C. Horn had a rough day at the office, huh?
Rough day at the office.
Yikes, man! I can't wait to 1, dig into this game, and then 2, to watch. What? You think it's stupid to want to watch this game?
Yeah.
I love football.
Don't watch it.
And the Saints are a team that we've kind of danced around giving them credit. We've been like, I don't know, we're kind of talking about 2 teams, but their defense is good and
I'm on the Saints bandwagon right now, dude.
I think
Derek
Beau hit the
Carr
nail on the head. Like their offense from where it was last year.
Yeah.
Pete Carmichael. It was so stale. Kubiak did a really good job in his debut, and I think they're going to be fun to watch.
The Kubiak thing's huge because they did not look happy last year offensively. It's just not. Yeah.
And we'll see how good the Saints are next week.
We will, because they're going to play
the boys.
Our
the
boys.
Dallas Cowboys.
The boys.
Yeah.
We them boys.
I think that'll be a good game, honestly.
No, I'm taking the Saints. They're catching 7 points. I'm betting that right now. I'm overreacting. But you got to – what is Vegas doing in this situation? Because you got to figure they're banking on a public overreaction to Dallas, but also one from New Orleans. Where's the game? Dallas. I don't know about that, but we'll see.
Hey, Beau, are you on the Chargers bandwagon as well?
I'm on the Harbaugh bandwagon. I'm on the Scott Matlock bandwagon.
Nice.
As an athlete, in Philly that played a lot of fullback back in 2016, I just love the idea that Harbaugh comes in, he's trying to rebuild an identity. He's talking about getting the run game going to help out Herbert and drafting O-lineman high and stuff like that. And then he's listing a defensive lineman as a fullback. And this dude played, I looked it up, I think he played 34 snaps. I was pumped about that, man. I want to do a butter breakdown on this dude just for fun.
Yeah.
Just for shits and gigs.
There's a great still of Robert Spillane just with his helmet off, right at the line of scrimmage, just defeated because he's been going against that DN fullback all game.
Yeah.
Beau, he was
grinder.
Beau, he was 18 offensively, 16 defensively.
Wow. Swiss Army knife. Swiss Army
bet you he was
hammer.
on special teams too, right?
Yep.
Man,
he's got to be on the new kickoff, right?
Here's what little bit I saw from this game, Beau, and you tell me. I thought from the corner of my eye watching TV4, I noticed that they kind of tried to open it up a little bit as the game went on in the passing game, and Herbert looked good. And like I saw a stat coming to this weekend that Herbert's like undefeated when his team holds the team to 20 points or less. So check. No one's given up on Herbert. I mean, nobody with a brain. There's some people that just if anybody doesn't like Herbert, I can almost guarantee you it's because they like another quarterback and Herbert made them feel bad about the quarterback that they like. And I'm not just saying Tua. I'm saying like everybody's always trying to compare quarterbacks. I want to see what it's like when he has a real group around him with a coach and a system. And although this system doesn't look like it's going to be like an MVP type deal, at least they're going to keep him out of trouble. He's not going to get murdered out there. And they're going to build the bones and the structure for their organization going forward. This year is like it's a retool, not a rebuild. In a retool year, they could win 9 games. They could also win 6. You got that quarterback, though. You always got a shot.
Solid, man.
Huh?
They're well built. Like their run game, Chris, because it's funny. Like coaches always say this shit in preseason and, whatever, and it feels like lip service. And then when the bullets start flying, you never really know if they're going to stick to their plan. Dude, they had 27 rushes for 176 yards. Dobbins had a 61-yard run. They were like battling in gap scheme, like 21 personnel with my guy Matlock. Like they look good, and they did open it up later. Like the big question mark is like Greg Roman. He's got these West Coast roots. Are they going to do that, or are they going to go back to like mid 2000s pro style football? I think that's kind of where they're leaning. I think they're going to be like, I think it's one of those games, or they're going to be one of those teams where when you're a player and you get that Wednesday game prep, you're in, like, you get that Wednesday early down, like, like, oh, this is going to be a fucking game. Like, I got to like maybe wear a cowboy collar for this one.
Fist fight. It's a fist fight. He's going to bring the fist fight to you. That's Harbaugh, man. And like that, this game was a fist fight, a very one-sided fist fight last year. But this matchup, there's a lot of hate in this matchup, and this is going to be a fun one. Now, the one thing, because I'm a big Antonio Pierce fan, it's clear to me that like the offense is going to be tough this year. It's just going to be tough to watch, and I wouldn't be surprised if they sell Adams at the deadline. But for the Chargers playing this Vegas team, all that bravado last year in the Raiders whooping of the Chargers, and we've got a punt that broke the surrender index scale.
That was bad.
Okay. Las Vegas decided to punt with 7:15 to go, 4th and 1 on the 43-yard line. This is Chargers 43-yard line. The score was 16-10. 131.72 surrender index. That's not good. Okay, that's 100th percentile of cowardly punts for the 2024 season. It's a young season, you say, but it's 99.9 percentile since 1999. So
trailing by 1 touchdown or less on 4th and 1 from the opponent's 40 to 49-yard line. Teams have gone for it 63 out of 64 times in the last 5 years.
Where's the analytics? Wow. Where's the analytics guy on the sideline to help the new coach out? To tell him, hey, guy, like, we need to go for it here. Don't they do that for any other time?
You're saying the organization failed Antonio Pierce on this one?
I mean, hey, it seems like all these other organizations can easily say, hey, analytics said we should have went for it here. So it's like,
you got the floor.
Where's the analytics at?
What's the point?
I'm just saying, like, why didn't someone tell him, hey,
They probably did, and
I'm sure they did.
He was probably like, I got an idea. but I'm not really sure what goes through his head doing that one, especially because it's the same group last year that was like, yeah, we're rubbing your face in this pile of dog shit. It's Step Brothers out here for you.
Hey, well,
and now
Chris,
you're talking about you punt.
Yeah. You're talking about the bad blood between them. I loved this. Khalil Mack, who was drafted by the Raiders, he's 11.5 sacks against the Raiders, which is the most, by a guy who's been. He's still got it, man. He was my draft class. Yeah. I actually love the front seven from the Chargers. Like, they got Poona Ford, who I think is sick. He had a really nice play on a 4th and 1, I think. Bosa, obviously great player, and then Khalil Mack had 1.5 sacks. Like, I think the Chargers.
They got a fun rush group, and Joe Alt supposedly was pretty good. Joe Alt was supposedly pretty good.
He had 11 snaps against Max Crosby. Crosby had a sack. I think it was on like a stunt, like a pass rush stunt, a 3-man game. But he had 11 snaps against Max Crosby, who I pegged as a defensive player of the year, and he didn't allow any pressure. So I'm going to watch him a little more and just kind of analyze his first start. I think he's good, though, like playing right tackle. He's just he's long.
Did the TCU kid drop any balls yesterday, Quentin Johnson?
Let's see.
Did he get targeted? That's a big one that you're like. And Palmer, I think, dropped the ball that turned into a pick or something like that. But,
no drops.
No drops.
5 targets, three receptions.
There we go. That's a start. We can build on that.
Hey, another young player that was good in this game, Chris, is Ladd McConkey.
Dude,
played really well.
Yeah, if he can be a player for them, they can maybe open things up a little bit. But it just might be a thing where they're like, hey, we're just going to be who we're going to be. Okay, last but not least, Cowboy Reed.
Oh, yeah, that was a little rough yesterday. You called it, but Broncos, the Bo Nix start off to his career was a little sad. I will say his second half, he ended the game really well. He led a drive to cut it to 1 score. Unfortunately, Geno Smith had one hell of a throw to advance the ball on 3rd down to get a first down and run out the remainder of the clock. But he was a rookie quarterback.
He's a rookie quarterback. He's a bit of a check down merchant at this point. That could change. That's not to say he can't be a good player. I'm confident in Sean Payton. I'm confident in his ability to coach this guy and get what you need out of him. But when the game opens up a little bit in the second half and they're playing off coverage a little bit more, you see that sort of thing, right? But I honestly, I got to look before I bury the kid or exalt him.
It wasn't great, and that's why I was interested. I was interested after the game. Sean Payton was like, "We've got to do more to help Beau. We haven't helped. Like our line did this, our line did that," and that's like he was just throwing checkdowns all day. And then like when he threw the ball down the field,
it wasn't great.
He it was into coverage.
Yeah,
I will say his second half.
That's not what you want to do.
His second half, he had a high completion percentage and he was stretching the field. He hit Cortland Sutton on a 3rd down. There were a couple plays that we didn't get the refs call. There was a 3rd down. We didn't want to
mid-season form.
Oh, dude, there was a PI, obvious PI in Cortland.
I think it easily could have been. It easily could have gone y'all's way. But I will say this though, for Mike McDonald, and we can get into the what happened, why the offense looked a certain way. I mean, I think it was what was the 12 to what was the score earlier? They had It wasn't a scoregami, but it was the type of score that's like the way they built that.
It was
score.
like 8-7, and then we got a safety 10.
It was 2 safeties.
2 safeties.
Yeah,
made
and
10 points.
And a field goal. It was 5 something.
Yeah, dude. So the way that game started at home, and you talk about it being one of the most hostile environments to play in, and this team with such high hopes. Like I have high hopes for this Seahawks team, frankly. The first half of the game, you're like, oh no, and you're looking at Mike McDonald and. Again, Marshawn's giving him a shoulder rub, and he's like, "Not now. I'm possibly being walloped."
I'm the head coach
by the Broncos at the moment. There's a football game going on, but like, eventually they settled in, and eventually the better team won. To get chin checked like that, not for nothing, week 1 can be a good experience for your team. And, for a defensive head coach to come in and take a job, there's a lot of hype around this roster, a lot of hype around him. They stayed cool, they stayed calm, and they pulled a win out. Like that's not, I'm not saying they set the world on fire with that victory, but it was ugly.
I'm not going to lie. As someone who put down the over win totals for Denver Broncos with BetMGM after watching this game, I wish I would have put the over win totals for Seattle. I think I have a lot more.
Well, thank God they won.
More hope, like in watching Geno right now for the long run for getting wins for his team versus the rookie. It's just hard to put your faith in a rookie. I know I said like Bo Nix, he looked good, and it's great looking in preseason.
But you're starting to feel that a little bit.
Yeah, but like
there was a point in the game.
Maybe it would be a little bit different because he's a little bit older. Like you got a real good coach that's for the quarterback, but it just doesn't matter.
Quote of the Sunday. Like second quarter of that Seattle-Denver game, Nate turns to the group and goes, because he has a Broncos 9-0 prop bet. He goes, if they win 9 in a row this year, do I get my money immediately? Or and he's dead serious. So talk about somebody that's jumping out of the gym for Bo Nix. I feel for you guys, Broncos fans. I feel like the expectations were low, and then they got kind of like high. But this is right where you need to be. You tough road test the first game. You did a lot of impressive things. The quarterback's got a long way to go, but so do all the rookies. Yeah, Seattle fans. I think I had 5 win totals, season win totals, and the first 3 lost yesterday. And I was like, here we go. I had Jacksonville's over, Commanders over. I've
Titans,
got
maybe.
No, I stayed away from that. Thank God. I would have been melting down. And it finally came down to Detroit getting a win for me, and I think Seattle. So, anyways, look at the board next week real quick as we get ready here for these BetMGM moments. And let's take a peek ahead. I know we got the Carolina or the Dallas New Orleans game, which is going to be interesting. Do we have lines on these games? No. I want to see if there's any bets we want to look ahead at this week on MGM. And for those of you who hate gambling, we've barely talked about it, so good for you. But here we go. Tonight we've obviously got the Jets and Niners. I don't know what to think about this game. I kind of feel like the Jets come out and play well with all the Niners distractions. You saw the way Cincinnati played, and I know they're terrible in the first quarter of the season, but there's a lot that the Niners have had to deal with. Jets are as healthy as they're going to be all season.
No Reddick.
No
Reddick as that holdout continues.
Yeah, no Reddick, which is a factor, but I've kind of figured going into the season that's who they're going to be with. We got the Bills and the Dolphins. No surprise there. The Dolphins laying 2.5 at home. The Raiders and the Ravens. That game, the Ravens have to get right. They're laying 9.5. Chargers, Panthers, only 6.5. A lot of people are going to be on the Chargers. Saints, Cowboys is almost a touchdown. The Cowboys are laying at home. Bucks, Lions, that's going to be maybe one of the games of the week right there. Bucks, Lions laying 6 at home. I think, I'd be looking at the Bucks a little bit there. Colts, Packers. Well, boy, isn't that interesting because we don't know who's playing quarterback for the Packers. Is it going to be Malik Willis?
I don't think we have an official announcement.
Yeah, I think it needs to be Tom Brady. Browns, Jags, rematch of last year, Jags by 4. It's going to be really popular to get on the Jags, but beware because that defense is still that defense. Niners and Vikings, that is going to be a lot of fun. Don't quote me, but it's going to be a lot of fun. 5.5. Seahawks, Pats, after everything the Patriots did this week, it might be sexy to get on the Seahawks on the road, laying 3.5. If that gets to 3, I like that. Jets, Titans, that's going to be a bloodbath. Commies and Giants in the flyover game. Rams, Cards are going to be a lot of fun. Bengals, Chiefs. If only the Bengals had played well, they wouldn't be catching almost a touchdown on the road. That's a team last year that almost beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead with a backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They're this close. Kansas City was on the brink. Steelers, Broncos, going to be a fun one. And Bears, Texans. Might be more humble pie coming, or maybe all of a sudden Caleb Williams turns it on, and this is a great game. Mm-hmm. And then Falcons, Eagles. I just want to say this right now. I know because Macon doesn't listen to the show. Eagles laying 6.5. I feel pretty good about that at home. You haven't seen what the Eagles rushers are going to look like yet with good grass. And Eagles rushers love good grass. I could tell you that from experience.
Better hope that Michael Penix don't play.
I hope not. All right.
Nick Foles' retirement.
The place is going to be rocking. So anyways, here we go with the MGM moments. As you heard, we teamed up with BetMGM this season. We're pushing BetMGM lines, using those lines every week to make all our picks. And we'll have special offers for you listeners each week. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code GREENLIGHT, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Number 1, download the BetMGM app. It's pretty easy. I did it myself. That's impressive. And sign up using bonus code GREENLIGHT. I did not do that myself. I passed the phone to Matt. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code GREENLIGHT when you sign up. Now it's time for the BetMGM moments. Let's finish this show, guys.
Best flight.
Best flight. New England Patriots, man. Because I bet you Mayo's got those guys flying first class like Bill Belichick used to fly us first class, you know? And that was just a huge win. In an early game, a 1 o'clock spot, Cincy to Boston, not a terrible flight. Give me New England. Guys might have hit the streets after the game, you know?
Yep.
Best flight, what you guys
I got a great one. My best flight, Chris, is not, in fact, a flight. It's a bus ride. I'm talking about the bus ride back from Notre Dame to Northern Illinois.
Ooh,
Northern Illinois upset Notre Dame. Their head coach, Thomas Hammock, who I was with my time at Wisconsin.
Oh, really?
Cool guy. Got emotional after the game, which was a cool video to see. But imagine you go to University of Northern Illinois. You go in, you beat one of the top-ranked teams in college football, and you take a bus ride, a short bus ride back with all your boys celebrating that. That's phenomenal atmosphere.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Best flight, going to Saquon Barkley, flying back international from Brazil after having a crazy offseason on a new team. Your first game, you put on a show that you put on, and it's like you probably couldn't even think up like what type of like on paper this is the type of game I want to have to start my season with a new franchise.
No, it feels like a dream.
Like
to end up on a new team and things go like perfectly, and you're still yourself, and like you're like pinching yourself. I bet.
Yep.
You know, it's a lot like my first game in Philly. That train ride back was awesome, Beau.
Exactly.
You remember that thing?
Yeah.
I missed the sack in the fourth quarter. Like just whiffed Kirk Cousins, old ass.
I remember that.
I'm just older, and I was on the train on the way back, like wouldn't say two words. I was gonna jump out of the moving train. It wasn't for Beau sitting there. I don't know what would have happened, but bus rides back.
I was rubbing your shoulders like Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, he was rubbing my shoulders like Mike McDonald. But the bus ride in college, if you do get to go to a bus ride game or in the pros, it's like better than an airplane ride. Yeah. Because all your stuff, you don't have to get through security. You just put it on the bus. You could have like Gatorade bottles full. We had like Gatorade bottles full of Aristocrat vodka on the way back from College Park back in the day. Like I remember getting off the bus after a loss. We played Maryland, and I was just blackout.
So did y'all fill these up win or lose? Or you didn't pick like the bottles up in Maryland? You brought them with you to the game?
Yeah, probably. Okay. I don't remember. It's been a very long time.
Snitching ass. Like, you have a wire on right now?
Yeah. I was just wondering.
Like, relax.
Hey, worst flight, I'm going to give it to the Packers. I mean, there's nothing worse than flying 10 hours home from a loss, and you lose your franchise quarterback. I mean, just to say this for Packers fans that are here, I know hopefully you watched the video the other night. Like, first off, I didn't think the Jalen hit was dirty at all. I know there's some people out there that think it was dirty. You're just wrong on this one. Like, there are some opinion things, and there's some things that as a football player, you're not qualified to be, like me arguing with a physicist. You're arguing intent with a guy who's actually been in that situation. I've been in that situation on the ground, holding on to somebody's ankle, trying to get him down. You scratch, you claw, the game's on the line. You don't know what's going on up top. But the Jordan Love injury, and it had nothing to do with the turf because it was just a freak deal, although the turf was unacceptable. And by the way, shout out to Brazilian fans. If you're in this chat, we love you. We love you guys. The turf is not something that we're holding against y'all. It's just the NFL, and I know it's a soccer pitch and all that stuff, and it's slick. I've been there. I've been to London. Got it. But the injury is just such a black eye on what was a great night for the NFL down there with that awesome crowd and such high hopes for the Packers. There are very few quarterbacks that, and we always say this, it's always stupid to be like, as a fan of the Vikings, I still feel bad for Jordan Love. Of course you do. Doesn't matter what team you root for. But I think this is a little bit different even than the normal run-of-the-mill injury because we have watched this guy go through getting drafted, having to be sat down for a few years. He's handled everything with class. You know, he got paid. He's a likable guy, and I think the whole league is pulling for the guy unless you're like an NFC North fan somewhere else. And you certainly don't want to see him get hurt and see this young team, which we kind of fell in love with going up there to spend time with him at camp, like Wicks. Those guys, those young receivers, Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, it's just an easy team to root for. So we feel for Jordan Love and sending out some love to Packers Nation. You'll get him back this year. For a minute there, it looked bleak. The pop on the replay, I was like, oh, he's done. But luckily, he's a freak of nature. He'll be back out there this year. Worst flight, Packers.
Worst flight, Titans losing to the Bears the way they did. I think that
It's a bad one.
Yeah, just knowing that last interception, the way it happened, even though it's not, I don't know if that's that long of a flight, it's still a bad taste in your mouth losing to a rookie quarterback. Really sitting in history.
Denny Green, bro. It's a Denny Green soundbite after the game. Hey, you want to crown his ass and crown him. But he is who we thought he was, and we had him where we wanted. We let him off the hook. That's what happened. Then you got to go on the plane.
Yeah.
And go home.
Not good.
I'm going to go worst flight. Rams flying back from Detroit. Hard-fought game Sunday night. You know that that game went into overtime. It didn't end until like midnight or whatever last night. They're flying back to the West Coast. It's a long flight. Their team's banged up. They played hard, like Stafford. I felt like he got rolled up on like 3 or 4 different times.
He's Buddy Lee, dude.
That shit's probably going to swell up on the plane. They got all their O-line injuries. Puka, that's a tough one. Hard-fought battle. And, to lose a game like that and then have to get on a long-ass flight really late at night, not ideal.
Let's go Hollow Man. Who wants to be invisible? That's what this award is about. Obviously, we're referencing the famous Kevin Bacon movie where he's invisible.
This is an easy one for me. I'm not going to say too much here. Deshaun Watson did not play well. A lot of scrutiny for him. I'm sure he's, walking into the building Monday just like, oh, man.
There have been times in my life where I was like, man, if I could just escape my body, like if I could just, float somewhere else or like just, hey, if I could get a do-over, is this life? Like, is this real? You know what I mean? Like, have you ever had moments that are so bad you're like, this is reality? Mm-hmm. He's living that moment for years. He's going to live that moment. He lived it last year. He's living it this year. He's living it. He's going to live it the rest of his contract.
But shit, he's living it with a lot of money in his pocket.
No question. But in my experience, money don't buy happiness. But I'm happier when I can buy what I want or whatever the fucking song. But seriously, it doesn't buy you happiness. And he probably is the truest Hollow Man of the weekend.
My Hollow Man is going to Jamar Chase's agent, whoever that is out there. I just feel like you want the team, when you're trying to get a contract, you want the team to think that you're terrible without your client. You don't want your team to think that you're terrible with your client playing. Because when you're trying to get paid,
leverage gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
And then you guys do all this stuff during camp and him not like participating and you're not on track with your quarterback.
Higgins' agent though.
I mean, and then it's just bad timing for all those guys, receiver core, Higgins. I'm mad at him too because guys like you can't get hurt right now.
Yeah.
You got the star guy complaining about money. You're trying to get paid. It's like, yo, go out there and ball. Your quarterback has no one to throw to.
I feel like Jamar Chase is like really funny. Like he's a funny guy, and I feel like Jamar Chase is like that guy that like he'll fuck with you. Like if you watch him at the podium or like at his locker, he's always got some funny shit to say, and he's like shooting somebody like a look like, am I serious? Am I not serious? I almost feel like he's the final boss of a holdout because he was playing games with them right up to game time. Like unless he was really sick. I don't want to question the guy, but it's also one of those things that I don't want to end up looking naive. And if you don't piss on my leg and tell me it's rain is what I like to say. Mm-hmm. And don't tell me it's rain. Like that was probably a holdout situation, as we all suspect. And he's the type that would play hardball and head games with these guys. But it was to the detriment of the team.
Yes.
And I also want him to get his money because I love Jamar Chase. Okay, I want him to get 1 cent more than Justin Jefferson.
1 cent.
Okay, Hollow Man, Tom Brady, not because of what y'all thought he did or didn't do in the booth, but because of that, the pound that he had to hang out there in front of Mike Pereira for 5 to 7 seconds. And there was a better way to do it, like you be Mike Pereira. Okay? Good to see you, Mike. Like that would have been funny.
Yeah.
Or like
I respect him waiting though, because Mike didn't see him.
But he just Tom just stood there and stuck to the game plan, dude. And he just,
but he smirked too.
He did. He was like, "I'm a meme, bro." He was like, "Damn, I just got memed."
He did. To Nate's point, he did do the right thing though. He stayed and he went because he could have like pulled it back, then it would have looked sillier.
Yeah, well, I think pulling it back, you lean into the joke, and you're like, well, fuck me then. You know, like, have you ever seen a guy that's like...
Yeah.
Okay, well, the other Hollow Man, we got to mention this because we left him off, Will Levis. I covered myself in mayonnaise for our MGM shoot announcement because I thought the Titans were going to be good, and that was the most disgusting thing I've ever done in my life. I was smelling mayonnaise the next morning. I had taken 3 showers. I did that for Will Levis. And for you to go out there and cost me a unit that I put in May and to play the way you played.
That pick is probably the most disgusting thing he's ever done in his life. You think?
It's up there. It's up there. I mean, you're talking about a guy that eats mayonnaise in his coffee.
Exactly.
Okay? It was hideous.
That's what we know.
Yeah. Okay, let's go Bevel Conway. This is always spirited. Yeah. Bevel Conway is the name of a color analyst, not like a football color analyst. This is a guy that we brought in here to settle the long-standing debate of whether lemon lime Gatorade is green or yellow. It is green, and Bevel Conway said so I'm right. You guys are all smoking crack. But what was the most beautiful scene in football this weekend?
I know.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Nate. Okay. You take it first.
I am going with Caleb Williams gripping the football with bear-themed nail polish.
Oh, that was pretty. And also, Matt did that in the BetMGM. We kind of cursed all these guys. Ooh. Matt painted his nails. The BetMGM curse. Was anybody else? I mean, Dallas actually played pretty well. I'll go with, for Bevel Conway, the Dallas-Cleveland game was gorgeous. Those 2 uniforms, awesome. Outside game, grass looked beautiful. It was sunny in Cleveland. It wasn't overcast. There wasn't any, marine layer coming off the lake there. And on top of it, I want to shout out. And I know you're all going to be mad, and you can just scream at the computer screen.
I know what you're about to say.
The Giants uniform. You guys, this is the biggest groupthink self-admission. I mean, like everybody.
Bro, it looked like they weren't wearing pants.
Only if you think that's a Freudian slip by you. I wasn't thinking that once. You know what I mean? Like,
for this to make sense to the audience, Chris also loves the Steelers Bumblebees.
I don't love them. I think they're fine. Okay. There were some things that
the Giants stole this. They stole this uniform from old CFL team. They look like the Montreals. I feel
Who
like
cares?
Nobody wear that jersey.
Well, I mean, I just think red and blue's pretty, and I actually like the jersey. You could probably do something different with the pants, but the tan stuff doesn't bother me so much. You guys it's like Obama with the brown suit right now. You guys are just freaking out. I think that the Giants uniforms are fine, and I just wanted to volunteer as tribute. And all you motherfuckers, because I'm over the limit out there, that just hate on the Giants uniform, I think you need to get your eyes adjusted.
You've got a buddy in the chat, Justin, agrees on both the Giants uniforms and the Steelers.
Justin, my dog, you're old school like me, bro. You and I go check out a Canton Bulldogs game. Tristan Smucker. Chris needs better weed. Tristan, I can guarantee you, I have the best weed known to man.
Vouch.
Yeah, I have good weed. I don't smoke bad weed, dude. Okay, who you got for Bevel?
Conway. I got 2.
Okay,
that's all right.
That's fine.
First one, I'm going back to college football again. I actually love the Texas at Michigan. I thought that was a good color scheme, and then they pan out to the aerial view of the big house, and then you see the yellow. I don't know, the yellow and the blue, and
that was pretty.
Orange from Texas. I like that. But the real Bevel Conway I was excited about. They mentioned this on the broadcast, but when Jared Goff went out to meet Stafford for overtime, there was this one really cool image of them dapping it up, center, and it was sweet. I thought that was a really good moment for those 2.
It's a great moment. The one thing I'd like to say as we get into the anti-Bevel Conway is a couple teams took steps back in the uniform department. I don't like Houston's new uniforms. Nolan likes the new uniforms.
I like them.
I don't like the Broncos' new uniforms. I think there were better options there. I think they're just like variants of each other. And I think if you're Detroit and you fix your uniforms, or you say you fix your uniforms, and you've got the whole world watching, and you don't put on silver pants on Sunday night, you're fucking around. You're playing with your food. Put the silver pants on. It goes perfect with the Honolulu blue. They look like giant blueberries out there. When we used to, it looked like a Color Rush uniform. Is it bad? No. But could it be a lot better? Yeah, put the silver pants on.
I miss Color Rush. Shout
out to Chris Allen. He knows I've got that gas.
That's my uncle.
Check out his special coming out next
Check out his special.
Hell yeah.
Great
Chris
comedian,
Allen.
local dude.
Very
We're going to get
funny.
him watching games with us one time this year. But he likes the Giants unis too. So anyways.
Anti-Bevel Conway for me. I'm going with Jabril Peppers wearing the Guardian cap.
Oh, yeah.
Does not look good.
No, the Hey.
And I know.
I'm going to be sitting on the couch drooling
right?
on myself going, it's a stupid hat.
Exactly. It's like us really, I'm really here shitting on
What idiot. What day is it?
The number one safety issue, and especially for us as D linemen, is CTE. And then one thing that is maybe preventing that a little bit or helping it, perhaps.
Can you look less stupid while you're being safe?
Exactly.
Yo, I took a lot of shit on Twitter. I literally tweeted out, the Guardian caps look so bad on game day, I would actually rather just get CTE.
You said that? They can't get on you. They can't get on you.
Oh,
everyone was tweeting back at me like, sounds like you already got it. I was like,
you're not getting. They can't cancel you, bro. Not with people like Antonio Brown on the timeline.
My God.
If he's not getting shut down, you can say whatever you
best
want.
Follow on Twitter, man, for real. He is hilarious.
My goal is to get you to be Cracker of the Day at some point this year.
Please, I would love that.
Just tweet him that commercial.
No, the funniest thing that had me gagging was somebody was like, Antonio, can my little nephew be Cracker of the Day? It was this little kid. And then he retweeted it. It was like Cracker of the Day. This little white kid. All right. So anyways, I also want to add to anti-Bevel Conway. What is the NFL doing with these plaid hats? Okay, you're giving me shit about the Giants uniforms. You're like,
Dude.
I think I'm gonna buy that hat Denard Wilson has.
What a shame.
You're not allowed in the building in that hat.
What a shame.
Imagine those.
They let that
hats.
game go. I'd have bought one.
You'd have bought that hat.
Oh,
Well, everybody was wearing them. That's
the Steelers plaid hat with that bumblebee out.
You notice Mike Tomlin was hatless Mike Tomlin because he knows that shit is suspect. That hat.
Oh, he didn't wear it.
Yeah, he didn't wear that plaid hat. He didn't wear any hat. All right. What's next, Matt?
Fly on the wall.
No, I got to hit my anti-bevel comment.
Yeah, hit it.
You need some better reefer. The Giants unis look like absolute trash.
Oh, we've been there.
I possibly like that, but that's my official one.
Called it reefer.
That's
Bet you would.
We're calling it reefer or grass. Sometimes the devil's lettuce when we're feeling really cheeky.
Yeah. I love the devil's lettuce. Okay.
Fly on the wall.
Fly on the wall. I wanted to be there with Chris Olsen watching
Greg
Olsen. I keep missing
See dirt
because you guys got to understand. I keep unintentionally shouting out my old college roommate who was Greg's brother. But Greg, who's so good and got kind of like usurped for Tom Brady, and like the reviews aren't great, but I'm not one that's piling on Tom. But I'd love to have been there. Like, did he watch that game? And same thing with Saquon watching the Giants game. Like,
I got one. I got John Mara watching. Either he's watching the Eagles game or he's watching the highlights or reading the stat line of his former cash cow.
Yeah.
Just light it up.
Yeah.
For his new franchise after the world,
Yep.
the NFL and football fan world seen in Hard Knocks how distraught he was if Saquon could land anywhere except for if he lands in Philly, how he was going to feel about it. And then it happens.
And how about the Joe Schoen's nephew? Like, in Hard Knocks being like, you only get one shot at this, Unc. Yeah. Like, please draft Jaden Daniels. Like, what's he thinking right now? Like, you think they had like a family dinner and he just like knocked his plate on the floor? Like, pick it up, you loser. And then also, if we're talking about like fly on the wall, I had another one. Go ahead. I can't remember.
I got one.
Go ahead.
we talked about this a little bit briefly. I want to be a fly on the wall in the equipment room when Russell Wilson comes in on game day inactive requesting his pads.
That's funny as shit, dude. I would love to see how that conversation went. Because at first I know there was like we don't do that.
Or maybe they said, you know what? Or they were like they were like give him they huddled up, they were like give him his shoulder pads, but hide his fucking helmet. Like hide his, because we know we're not supposed to be doing this, but make sure he doesn't try nothing slick.
Yeah,
hide his
try
helmet.
something slick.
Because I can see Russell Wilson trying to sneak into a game. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
Just like
I just want to, when you see a guy warming up with no coaches around him and he's doubtful, like that's a good sign that he's not playing, right? Yeah, fly on the wall. There's a lot of that this weekend. Another one. Gosh, I can't remember. I had a really good one, but keep going. I'll get you if I remember it.
Best seat.
I got another fly on the wall too, Chris.
Oh my gosh, a whole bunch of flies.
We can keep it pushing. Keep rolling.
Okay. What is this? Best seat?
Best seat.
The best seat in the house. That bar that I saw, where it looks like you're inside of a game.
That was nuts.
That had
Michigan,
me
Texas.
Yeah,
it was a bar in Michigan, I believe, and it had the game just all over the screen.
Yeah, I want one of those.
That was sick.
But then like 8 of them.
Yeah.
They're like 8 different rooms that you walk into instead of like having red zone.
Yeah. Best seat is going to Joe Button, who I'm a huge fan of, his podcast.
Shout out to Mood Music.
And he has Zaire Franklin actually has his podcast is, I believe, under Joe Button.
Oh, really?
Network.
We love Zaire Franklin.
And he was at the game. And Joe Button, usually when you see celebrities or you get tickets from your player friends, their seats are usually in the box or the family section. Joe Button looked like he was front row. Yeah. His videos that he were taking of the game looked like you were like in jeopardy of getting hit. Yeah. So I think that's the best seat
Joe
in the
Budden's
house.
the man. Shout out Joe Budden. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you guys before we move on, when you guys were playing, did you guys ever have to or invite or get tickets for a celebrity?
Yeah. Two guys in Philly for sure. DJ Premier.
Okay.
Who's the coolest guy ever. Like, the coolest dude you would ever meet. Like, he is fucking hilarious and super nice and, like, treats everybody with respect. So that was awesome having him down, and the guys were freaking out meeting him. But then Ninth Wonder, who is, like, one of my favorite producers, came up to our opener when we played Atlanta. And so, like, yeah. And then Biz Marquee was down there on the sidelines. I didn't host him. But I had Howie Long do a couple games.
Fire.
He's a little bit of a high-maintenance guy, but the other two were those guys. The thing I wanted to talk about was the irony of, and maybe this is best seat, so we'll skip back, but Jerry Jones was among the most angered people when they gave Deshaun all that guaranteed money. And it was like, this is going to be bad for the league. How about owners yesterday being like, like, never do this again. They never will. And for Jerry Jones, like getting Dallas a quarterback, Dak Prescott signed up to a big deal, which is like a victory for him right now because it's like action. And seeing him play that way, I mean, he had to be happy as hell.
Worst seat.
I got a good best seat. Best seat in the house. U.S. Open men's final. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, Pat Mahomes, Brittany Mahomes enjoying some honey deuces at the U.S. Open. Trav had his phone propped up against something. He was catching up on some Sunday football.
But they're going to break up soon. That's what they said. That's what the AI generated NDA said, because she's a psyop, and so now. Nobody wants to take the other side of this bet where I say, hey, I'll bet you $10,000 they don't break up September 26th. And everybody's like, of course they're not going to break up. Now they just changed the date. What world are you living in?
Wait, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know any of her. I don't know any of her music, but I'm just saying I cannot get over the way people attach their narratives to everything. It's like, bro, maybe they like each other. Imagine that. That's all I'm saying.
Worst seat.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Worst seat in the house. Tom Brady watching the Browns, sitting up there, his first broadcast. He's watching Deshaun Watson and the Browns.
He could be playing for the Browns. That's another call I'd be making if I were the Browns. Hey, Tom.
He could step right out on that field. be productive.
Could you do a quid pro quo where you get him a piece of ownership after he plays for like league minimum? You know? I thought the Packers would probably be calling him too. Okay, what's next? We're almost done here. Fly on the wall. We've talked about that. Best seat. We've talked. Is it STL Memorial? STL Memorial. This goes to a guy that probably didn't get enough credit yesterday. We already talked a lot about him. I'd probably give it to Sam Darnold. Nobody was paying attention to what Sam Darnold did. He played a great game. Shout out Kyler Murray, guys like that weren't the headline acts in yesterday's music festival, but they played some pretty good ball.
I'm going with Jacoby Brissett.
Yep, absolutely.
No one thought they were going to get that W, and I think just props to him. New coach making the decision to get the vet quarterback out there before putting your rookie that everyone wants to see play out in the fire. I think that was a good situation, good call for him. But Jacoby Brissett, I think he deserves a little bit more credit.
Yep.
I hate kickers. I'll give the kicker some love here. St. Louis Memorial. Chris Broswell, 6 for 6, 3 field goals longer than 50 yards. Shout out to you.
And he had the punt.
Yeah.
And he had the punt.
Yeah. And he can punt.
And he can punt.
Whoa. Is there something that happened with Josh Allen's hand? Somebody said I'm not going to be playing with the Bills for a couple weeks in Madden because
he injured his hand.
No, I know the opposite, but is he out a couple weeks? Don't scare me like that, Nicky G.
Or do they update it so his hand will be like flaky this week?
It's his non-throwing hand. You know what I'm saying? Plus, I play with the Eagles a lot, so.
No, he's good. This is from Rappaport 28 minutes ago. Sean McDermott said he is clear to practice and will play Thursday.
Sweet.
Game ball.
You know, I'm gonna give the game ball to. I mean, I'd love to give it to Gerard Mayo. We've already talked about it, but just to prove once again that this is the most fair, level-headed show on YouTube, I'm gonna give it to Dak Prescott. I'm gonna give it to Dak Prescott. You know, congrats to him getting that big deal, going out and playing really well. As much as people hate the Cowboys, he's a guy that I cannot help liking. And I'm not saying that I think he's going to win a Super Bowl in Dallas, but a guy that obviously wanted to be a Cowboy for life. He got his wish, and now here we go. Let's try it again. I'm not saying it's going to be, any different, but I thought yesterday he came out and looked really good, and his pockets are a little heavier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My game ball is going to Tua.
For what?
23 for 37, 338 yards.
Okay.
TD. 2 receivers over 100 yards, and all the extra noise going on. Go out there, you get a win. Game ball.
I agree.
And despite almost getting his wide receiver a concussion, he got him 100 yards.
No, he did. It wasn't him that threw the hospital ball. It was tipped, but it was a hospital ball.
Yeah, it was.
It was tipped, though. It was tipped.
Glad Waddle's okay, though.
Yeah.
My game ball is going to Sam Darnold. Skull, baby. Way to step into, I don't know, kind of a, wasn't there. J.J. McCarthy got hurt, blah, blah, blah. Sam Darnold played really good. Good shit, man. Game ball.
Okay, Beau. We've got a Fax's viral moment of the week. We're getting close to you being able to wrap the show. What do you got?
Fax viral moment. Since you guys really mentioned my viral moment a couple times during the show with the Marshawn Lynch rubbing a coach's shoulders while he is actively coaching, I'm going to go with another coach, Gerard Mayo.
We need a get-back guy for Marshawn.
After Brissett gets him his first win, he says, quote, Brissett actually made some plays with his legs, which is surprising because he's probably the slowest black quarterback in the league.
Who said that?
Gerard Mayo. You gotta love that.
I'm racking my brain here, and he might be right.
He's definitely right. If you think about it, he's definitely right. But respect, that's even more respect for Brissett. Even if you're not that fast, you pick your spots. You know where to run.
Yeah.
Get things done.
A Jacoby Russ foot race.
In the racial draft, I propose a trade: Kirk Cousins for Jacoby Brissett.
For sure.
we would take that. It depends if you put Kirk up
Couple
there
malarkey
with the chains on.
There's a white man speaking.
Dave Chappelle is hilarious. Goodbye, fried chicken. Hello, goodbye, fried rice. Hello, fried chicken.
I'll give you Kirk Cousins.
Oh,
okay.
Give us our drip alert.
Drip alert. Who was suited and booted?
I got it.
I only asked you to
got
consider AR-15.
My drip alert. Dak Prescott rolling into that game, just signed that massive deal, got $60 million a year, had a dope suit, looked
You
good,
like that
played
suit?
great. I liked it. I mean, it's more about just the confidence and swag rolling in a game like that. Like
Cowhide?
after signing
Is
that
it
big deal
cowhide?
cowhide.
on game day.
Is that cowhide?
I liked it.
The milkman.
That's the cash cow.
Cash cow.
But I got to say, Anthony Richardson's suit was incredible. And also, not Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson walked in something that I could never pull off. Not that that's fairly unique, but that was a interesting get up as well.
I just remember the picture of you on GQ. You had a lot of shit on that people cannot pull off.
They can't pull that off. And it's a nice reminder that I was on GQ. Those are our BetMGM moments. Thanks to BetMGM and all you football fans. I want you to picture something here. Close your eyes. Close them. You bet your favorite player.
Closed?
Yeah,
You got those
it's hard to know.
on.
You bet your favorite player as first touchdown scorer. Oh no! He throws a block to send a teammate into the end zone. Oh no! Instead, you think you lose the bet, right? Wrong. With BetMGM's second chance promotion, you'll get your stake back if your first touchdown scorer scores second. Bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. If you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. Guys, we love these first touchdown bets.
Oh, I got
you
one
do
for tonight.
Yeah, check this out. So,
And Chris, you beat Beau in a low-scoring game, 13-3, on the F word counter.
really, 13? Well, I started to not care. I was kind of like Carolina.
Fuck you, Chris.
Okay, and let me just one more public service announcement. How did the bets go? I'll remind you again. The locks.
You went 4-1.
Oh, okay. Was I a half point off or a point off from being 5-0?
You were a half point.
Okay. I don't even want to bring up what happened to Stanford Steve. It was ugly. It's Steve. We should double his pay because we have him on and just make him big games, and sometimes it doesn't go well. Beau, finish the show. You get to take us to a break.
My time to shine, baby. Got this mic. I'm feeling myself. Listen, I just want to thank everybody at home for joining us for this 3-hour live watch on Monday. Chris, Nate, Butter King, we had so much fun. I really appreciate y'all. That's all I got, man.
You want to say something about Minnesota? Like living in Minnesota, like when you asked Harry.
Down here in Tampa, man. I'm Tampa Bay Beau now. Tampa's a lovely
Tampa Bay
city.
Beau. All right. Well, hey, we will. That was a letdown. Maybe next week, have something better at the end of the show.
I'm done, dude. I honestly thought I was gonna lose. I didn't have anything prepared.
I'm gonna try to lose every week. So, anyways, guys, Beau, Nate, Noel, Matt, Tanner, Reed. Thank you for making this go smoothly. We got one in the books, and you at home, thanks for tapping in. Do a little favor here. If you really like our show, and you're like, because I hear there's a lot. Oh, this show should have better like notoriety. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're indie kind of, so like go out and tell 3 people, see what happens. Send 3 people a link to this show. Say, hey, what do you think? Like, subscribe, do all that stuff.
Subscribe,
we'll see you on Wednesday. Myself, Macon, Stanford Steve, talking some college football, talking Monday Night Football, giving out America's Teams Awards. Take care.